There's been so much interest in the economic boom that's been happening in Jamaica, both on the investment side and also as a place to move to. Let me tell you about a conference that might help you with this stuff. ThropX is a 5-day Jamaica investment conference that takes place from November 13th to November 17th at the beautiful Travelers Beach Resort in Negril, Jamaica. This includes 2 full days of expert panel presentations on all aspects of moving to and investing in Jamaica. This includes the brightest minds in the Jamaican real estate market, certified financial advisors from the most prestigious financial groups in Jamaica, banking professionals from the most esteemed banking institutions in Jamaica, among others. If you are thinking about moving to Jamaica, this conference is the perfect opportunity to have direct access to not only individuals who have achieved your dream of moving to Jamaica, but you'll also be among like-minded conference goers who are also trying to move to Jamaica. In addition, there will be 1 full day dedicated to touring both residential and commercial real estate for sale in the greater Negril area to give you a tangible idea of the real estate landscape in Jamaica. There will be exclusive properties for sale on this tour that you will not find listed anywhere else. If you are even remotely considering moving to or investing in Jamaica, this is the conference for you. This is the best way to dip your toe in the water of figuring out whether Jamaica is the right place for you to invest and to live. For more information, please visit thropx.com and join our mailing list. I look forward to seeing you in November. Hello, Throppers. Happy Sunday, everybody. Thanks for making it out to another live stream. Sounds like, oh, it's a little loud. There we go. Anyway, I hope you all are doing well. And as Jan is saying in the comments, we are like a week out, 7 days to go, pretty much, till ThropX 2023. Extremely, extremely excited. Things are coming together very well. And we got, I wouldn't say a lot of surprises, but we have one, I guess, a big surprise that's going to be part of the conference that will be exclusive to people who are coming and also people who are on the live stream. So very much looking forward to everything that comes with ThropX and our people coming, the panelists. Just the excitement is building, as you can imagine. Of course, if this is your first time visiting, my name is Winthrop Wellington. I'm the host of On Deck with Throp, where we have meaningful conversation with people from all over the world, all about Jamaica. And this is our bi-weekly live stream where we basically do the same, but we more so talk about specific subject matters and is really driven by the Throp community here. And today we're going to be talking about really doing a react video, I would say more than anything else, to a video that one of you all had actually sent out to me, emailed me about, and it's from a fellow YouTuber. He is, actually I've been following him for quite a few years. He's a New York City based real estate YouTuber. I think he's he is a realtor by trade, and he got into the YouTube world. And I think what he's talking about in his video, which we'll go through, I only watched about halfway through, and I kind of just like, I don't like watching the whole thing and then coming back and then watching it again. I like to try to do everything as live, so we're kind of experiencing it together. And I think it's pretty relevant to the direction that Jamaica is heading in. And there just continues to be this forward movement and great, what would I say, belief and positivity of the direction that the country is heading in from an economic standpoint and, of course, a real estate standpoint. And, you know, of course, the thinking behind all of this is just like, how can we as a group, as a community, capitalize on this forward momentum and put ourselves in a position to benefit from all of this? And perhaps benefit, but also, I would say, help the process and help it along and be a part of that. And so more than anything else, I think that this is what this community is about. And then also, I think it's important to learn from other what I would say is mature markets, mature real estate markets. And I think we're going to be doing that today. And there's a second video, depending on if we have time or not, that is more to do with Airbnb and short-term rentals, uh, specifically, not in Jamaica, but in general, specifically in the States. So if we have time, I would love to go through that as well. That I haven't watched anything at all, so we'll be watching that live together for the first time. Of course, let me know where you're chiming in from, what city, what state, what country. Always love to hear that. And let's hop right into the comments so we can kind of get things going, because it's not a long video, but the process of kind of going through it may take some time. So let's go ahead and do that. And of course, today is the New York City Marathon, which I would love to have had run, because I wouldn't say over, but a lot of people in the first wave are completed, are finishing it. And shout out to Teamwork, my running team in New York. I'm tracking them on my phone and cheering them on virtually. And I ran it last year, which was cool. I didn't race it. I just did it so I could get one of the 6-star medals. I'm trying to complete the 6 major marathons around the world. So I only have 2 more left, which is crazy. Tokyo and London, and I'm running London in April. And this year, the winners came in. I believe, I know the male set the course record. I believe the female also set the course record. It's just kind of crazy. We were talking about it at breakfast with my family this morning, talking about all these track and field, specifically distance records that are just like continuing to fall like crazy on just like a consistent basis. Especially, I would say, in the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years, maybe even 5 years. I don't know if many of you've heard of Eliud Kipchoge. He was considered the GOAT of marathoning. And I'm just realizing I'm talking about running. When I talk about running, I can go on and on, but just a little quick tidbit of information. So Eliud Kipchoge, he's from Kenya, and he was the first person to break the 2-hour marathon, which is incredible. We're talking about he's running, I believe it's like a 4:38 per mile pace for 26.2 miles. And he did it on this very controlled environment in Vienna, and where he basically did this looped course. He had a car, he had pacers coming in and out every 5K. And so it was this incredible feat of just pushing the human body and pushing humanity to a level that we've never even seen or even expected that we would reach. But it didn't count as an official marathon because it was in this controlled environment. And then this other guy, I think is Kiptum. He's also from Kenya, on the same team as he runs for NN as Kipchoge. He ran the Berlin Marathon this year, and the previous official record was Eliud Kipchoge. He ran, don't quote me on it, I think it's like 2:01:29 or something like that. And Kiptum came in this year and he smashed it. He did 2 hours 35 seconds. And now people are starting to think that it's very possible to break the 2-hour marathon in a legal format, in a street race, if you will. And that's the only way that these records actually officially count. And so our discussion this morning was really like, why is it happening now? And I was telling everybody it's the shoes. I don't have a pair with me, but it's the shoe technology that is really pushing this frontier. And what it does is, like, for the race itself, it gives you it lessens the fatigue, because you get what we would consider like a lot of return from every time your foot hits the floor, and it comes back. You're getting that return energy, so you're using less internal energy per se. And then on top of that, you have less fatigue in your legs and lactic acid buildup because of the cushioning in the shoe as well. So say when you get to mile 18, mile 20, you probably normally feel with traditional shoe technology, you probably may feel like you're only at mile 12. And then that allows you essentially to go like push yourself further, like mentally and physically, and just run faster for longer. And then you're also kind of like, as we have a better understanding and a better feel as runners with these shoes, like it's a completely different paradigm shift mentally, where you're kind of like, the whole thing is like, you don't want to blow up at like mile 18 and mile 20 and like have to slow down or walk or something like that. And now it's just like, no, we're feeling better. And like, it's also building our confidence. And then this is the last thing, I know I'm talking about running for way too long. And the last thing too is like, if we think about the training with running too, now we have this shoe technology that we can use throughout our training block. And so I can push my body further, and I also recover so much faster. And so imagine like I'm going on a long run or doing a speed workout, and I do a 20-mile run on like Saturday. Perhaps for my body and my legs to fully recover from that 20-mile run, maybe normally it would take me, for example, 5 days, and now it'll take me 24 hours because of the shoe technology. And the first time like I felt this was like the first pair of Nike Vaporflies that I owned. I ran Reggae Marathon here, and I didn't realize like my legs weren't killing me after the race, one. And then two, it normally takes like a solid 2 weeks, maybe even longer, for your legs to start feeling normal and for your body to recover. And even then, you're not fully recovered. And within a week, my legs were fine. But it just kind of comes down to this shoe technology, which is amazing and continues to again push these barriers. So shout out to everybody who's running the New York City Marathon right now, and shout out again to Teamwork. Wish I could be out there to cheer you guys on. But let's get to the comments. What's going on, Justin? Thanks for joining. Thanks for being a channel member. Appreciate you. Hi, Jan. Thanks for chiming in. Kingston 16, happy Sunday to you. Chiming in from California. Donna Bryce, happy Sunday, Throp and Throppers. Chiming in from Travelers Beach Resort in Negril. That's right, Donna. Good seeing you. Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for supporting the channel. Jen says again, countdown to ThropX 2023. Yeah, well, the schedule and itinerary, the detailed one is coming out this week. Andrew Blake, what's going on? Says, hi, Throp and family. My sister lives in Canarsie, about 15 minutes from JFK. We're going to get into that. That's where my dad's office was when we had Winthrop Car Service, which at one point was the largest Black-owned livery car service in the New York, maybe even America. Could be. This is what we're talking about in the late 80s, 90s. Merrill, hi, Throp, and everyone. Good to see you, Merrill. Strong Island in the house. What's going on, Chris? Shayna, love coaching. Happy Sunday to you. Corey, what's going on? Chiming in from Florida. Hey, Fitz says, hi, Throp and family, checking in from Atlanta and watching Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Awesome. What's going on, Dale Clark? Thank you for being a channel member. Appreciate it. Camille, chiming in from New York. Andrew is in Botswana. Awesome. Amazing. All the way in Africa. Appreciate you chiming in. What's going on, Michelle? In Texas, Jamaican by birth, will be building next year. Congrats to you. Amazing. Gareth, ATL in the house. Good day. Throp and Throppers chiming in from sunny Connecticut. That's from Lise Marie. Yeah, I wish I was at the marathon too. Andrew Blake says, best wishes to all attending ThropX, and I hope you get everything you are expecting from it. Thank you for that, Andrew. Joy Turner, happy Sunday to you as well. Janine, hi, Throp. Have an awesome, blessed day. Thank you very much. Andrew Mack says, the Kenyans are beasts at marathons. They absolutely are. Ashton Burrell, you're always very informative. Thank you very much. Jan says, so interesting how shoe technology can make such a key difference in athletic performance. Amazing. Yeah, it's really crazy. And we all have access to it, even like no matter what degree of runner you are or athlete you are, the technology will work for you and make you that much better. Hello, Phil. I was here, but I disappeared. Okay, there you go. Rosalind Miller, I was hi, all listening from Istanbul. Awesome. I want to go there. That is on my list. Thanks for chiming in from all the way in Turkey. Hello, Melissa in NYC. Thank you for joining. Miss Cole, hello, everyone. Thanks for hopping on. Okay, let's get into the video. Let me see if I could pull it up. Oh, as I pull it up, I believe a lot of you know about Jamaicans.com. If you go there now, you'll see a little article there written up on Thropex's Jamaica Investment Conference 2023 returns to Negril. Should we read through this article? But it's there. I'll share the link in the comment section if you want to read. You don't got to go through it. We can if you'd like to, but it's there. Okay, let's get to the video. I meant to download this, but I just couldn't find the time. But we will. Let me see if I can get rid of me so we can at least make it a little bit bigger. Nope. Okay, best we can do. Okay, let's go through it. Let's get it started. So this is by Cash Jordan, his YouTube channel. Again, he focuses a lot on can I move this? He focuses a lot on the New York City real estate, and he himself is a realtor, and I think he has like some great insight on what's happening in New York and specifically Brooklyn. And thank you again for the person who submitted this. Really appreciate it. I think it's again very relevant to what we're doing. Okay, here we go. Hopefully you can hear it. Let me know if you can hear it. I hope it's coming from my computer, which I feel like it's not. 1 second here. Sorry. All right, let's see if we can hear it. I want to make sure we can all. Okay, you can't hear it. All right, 1 second. Let me just change the settings. Sorry about that. Let's try this again. Nope, it's not happening. If you see the amount of wires that are here, you will not believe. Let's see. I think I might have to restart, unfortunately. Let me let's put on a quick break. That's why we got these videos. Sorry, everybody. Gonna just put on. All right, we're gonna put on part 2 of the. Yeah, put on part 2 of the drive-through real quick. Sorry, I'm just gonna try and figure out the audio because I think I need to reset it. Apologies. Just give me a few minutes. And I'd say like this is pretty typical in terms of traffic on the West End. It's not really a crowded place. The roads are narrow, but it's relatively safe as far as traffic goes. I guess because it's like so windy, you're forced to slow down, and also there are just not a lot of cars there. I bike here, I run here as well, and
I like it a little bit better than the beach in the sense of there just not being that many cars passing and driving towards you. It's La Mirage Hotel. That's the sister property to Shirella Inn. Both great small properties, locally owned. Seems like I'm driving fast, but I don't think I'm driving fast. These properties are just like whizzing by. There's Ivan's, otherwise known as Catch a Falling Star. Again, one of my favorite restaurants, I would say, too. Highly recommend them. They do really good stuff. Great service and great food. Coming up here on the right, this is the world famous Rick's Cafe, where you can do cliff jumping if you are brave enough, but it's definitely, I would say, the most popular place, bar in Negril, place to go in Negril. LTU, that's a popular expat bar. And they do their famous Halloween party every October as well. Never been, but I hear stories. I hear it's a lot of fun. Little girl saying hello. Right, we are going deeper into the West End. We're almost in deep West End, but not quite there yet. And coming up on the right is the Caves, which is known as a very exclusive property. A lot of celebrities have been there and stayed there before. I actually went there for dinner the other day, which was very nice, good food. We had dinner in the Cave. And this is our famous lighthouse. Unfortunately, it has been privatized, so from what I understand, there's no more tours to the lighthouse, which is unfortunate. I've never been. It's just like one of those things you just take for granted. You're like, oh, you'll get there sometime, and then next thing you know, somebody buys it and you can't go in. But it's still an important part of Negril nonetheless. Then on the right is Whoopi's, which was just a famous chill-out spot back in the day, particularly during the spring break heyday and the late 90s, early 2000s. Now you could either go right or go left, and we're going to go right. Down to the left is the Negril Laundromat, and then right here, I guess this officially starts the Deep West End. And I like the Deep West End. It's a very different feel from even the West End, the regular West End, if you will, and a very different feel, more so from the beach road. That's a villa there. I forget the name of it, but we've done a few events there for guests. At Travelers, beautiful villa. I want to say, like, some of the most beautiful properties are on the West End, but also the Deep West. Some of the most beautiful properties in Negril. This is the Cliff Hotel on the right side. I think this is the most beautiful property in Negril. Honestly, like, it's just gorgeous. I was there for dinner the other day, a few weeks ago, as a matter of fact. But really beautiful property. And for whatever reason, every time I've been there, there's like nobody there. But I think they focus more on groups than anything else. But I really don't know their business model. But great hotel, great for dinner as well. Highly recommend them as well. Service is great as well. On top of their cuisine. So these roads are not the best, and you can imagine biking here. So you've got to take it easy. But as you can see, a little glimpse on the right side of your screen, the views here are just amazing, and I've seen some of the most beautiful sunsets back here. And I've said this on the channel before. I think this is a great place to invest now, especially, like, I know there's a lot of people who want sea view or ocean front, and to get that on the Negril Beach Road is going to be very, very expensive. You know, we're probably talking, at least at this time, what I understand, like depending on the property, $1 million to $1.5 million US dollars per acre. And that might be on the conservative side, to be honest. And again, depending on where it is and what property. Whereas here, you know, I wish I could speak to what you'd pay per acre here, but it's significantly less. It's a lot less developed. But as you'll see as we drive through here, there is a lot of development happening, at least more activity than I've ever seen in recent times. And the types of development that I'm seeing here is mostly villas. And to me, this is like the perfect location, perfect row, if you will, for villas. Treasure Beach has a very similar setup, and there's a part of Treasure Beach where it's just villa after villa after villa after villa. And you're already having elements of this along this deep West End road here. And I think it's perfect, right on the water, just amazing views. You know, I wish we could have got out and shown you, but if you can just imagine, just past these gates, these houses, on the other side, you have just endless views of the sea. And depending on how deep you go, you can actually see the coastline, like looking left and right as you go out to the water. So this is an example of a recently built villa. I don't know the name of it, I don't know the owner, but it's very beautiful. I've seen pictures on Facebook as well. I was actually flying my drone for this property here on the left, somewhere west. We're doing a video for them and working with the owner to help her sell that property. But when I was looking at the drone and looking at that property, it's just really beautifully built, super modern. And again, to me, this is like the perfect location to do accommodations just like that. Or maybe not accommodations, maybe you want to build your dream home. I think this is the perfect place to do it. You're really by yourself, and we're about a little over 17 minutes in. I would say if there is a negative to being back here, it's that it'll take you about 15 to 20 minutes from downtown to get here. But some people like that. Some people love that, as a matter of fact. And just something to take into consideration. Coming up here on the right, this is actually a hotel that just never got off the ground. Obviously, it got off the ground, so to speak, but just never opened, really, for whatever reason. I think whoever did this had great vision. I think this was an excellent location to put a hotel, and I think it was also, in a sense, before its time. But that hotel is actually for sale, and it's being sold by actually one of our real estate experts, St. Alban Clark. So if you are interested, let me know if you want to find out a little bit more information on that property. We can St. Alban can give you that information. So let me know. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at Throp, THROP, or you can shoot me an email at Throp, THROP, at thropmedia.com. I always like driving down this road. It's like super smooth, and then as we make a right here, I always imagine like kids in high school doing drag racing down here, but they don't do that here, and don't do that. I'm not recommending that at all. But we are, again, deep West End. Beautiful views on, at least here, you know, I like this. And to the left, you have like the mountains, and then deep into the right, you have this sea, just to give you a little heads up on orientation.
We are back. Okay, I think I got the problem figured out. So for those that are unaware, that is the part 2 of 4 of the Negril West End tour. We're gonna do more of those. People really like them. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing those tours. It would be great if I could like do it like live, but I don't think we got like the technology to do it. Anyway, thank you, Justin. Yeah, there is The ocean's right there on the right side, like Justin is saying. Uh, I've shown. I don't think I have any here, but I've shown. I'll show another quick video. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can show this.
On the west end of Negril at a very beautiful property that is for sale. It's actually my friend's place, a good friend of mine, and she's selling it. And we're going to be doing a feature on it on my YouTube channel. And I just want to show you guys around a little bit before we do the shoot. What could be yours?
This is a property right on the right.
Beautiful view, beautiful views here.
So this is right where we're driving past.
Cool. Doesn't have any water in it right now. This is a saltwater pool. Yeah, they're gonna fill it up for the shoot that we're gonna be doing soon. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep, that's the same coastline we were driving.
Of the coastline.
That's the road on the left we were driving.
Let's go up. Let me show you some of the views from upstairs and some of the rooms. All right. Remember these? Not too shabby. So imagine waking up to this every day or going to sleep to this every night. So beautiful, like naturally, you don't even need to do anything. If I had the money, I would buy it. Like, this is heaven. And the neighborhood is really awesome as well. But yeah, we're gonna be doing the shoot in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. And gonna be working directly with my friend, the owner, on getting this up on the channel, and really excited and proud to be a part of this project.
Not a bad view at all. But this is like what I was talking about. Like, this could be like Villa Row, like along that entire coastline. There are a few there already, but you get the idea. You get what I'm trying to say here. So let's see if we can get this video going. Okay. All right, let's see if I know what I'm doing here. No, that's not what I want to do. Okay. All right, let's see if we can do this. I know we got full screen. Hopefully this works.
Brooklyn is quickly becoming one of the hardest places to live in New York City, and residents are being forced out. Why is that?
New Yorkers are fuming after already seeing the biggest rent hike last year.
People cannot afford the apartments they have.
Brooklyn rents are up 25% year over year.
There's a supply shortage, there's a much greater demand, and people are priced out of the housing market.
Tenant advocates argue any hike will increase poverty and homelessness.
Oh, what's up, man? How are you?
Good.
So,
And I just want to reiterate, I said this many times before, it's like we also got to put like this stuff in perspective. And this is kind of how I would say I'm bringing it back to Jamaica, if you will. And that these neighborhoods that are in Brooklyn, and we talk about it all the time. And I know there are people out there who's like, how can you compare Brooklyn or New York to Jamaica? And I know I'm going to get that in the comments, and Jamaica is not Brooklyn. Brooklyn is not Jamaica. I get it. I understand that. But we also got to put things in perspective in terms of New York being a mature real estate market and Jamaica is on the up and coming, right? And eventually we would hope that us as a nation, a country, even the communities throughout Jamaica, we will become mature real estate markets, and we will be valued at our true value, right? And that the true value is really comes from a perception of a location, but the perception is built upon infrastructure, it's built upon amenities, it's built upon safety, all these different things that when we think of a place to live or an ideal place to live, of course, if it's affordable, but where our kids are going to go to school, where they're going to play, do we have this to do? Do we have that to do? Do I have neighbors that will challenge me intellectually? Do I have neighbors that can become my friends and that my kids can play with? And so all these things we take into consideration, and based on that perceived value, it creates our willingness to be able to pay X dollars to live there, to purchase there. And so as Jamaica continues on this trajectory that we're on, and we're seeing, even in the last 3 years, we're seeing like an incredible increase in value in property all over the island, but especially on the North Coast and especially here in the West. And New York, and particularly Brooklyn, as we're talking about here today, back in the day, and when I say back in the day, within my lifetime, within my lifespan, many parts were undesirable. Many parts of Brooklyn we just couldn't go to. I was in New York last week, went out for brunch. We were in I guess you could call it Prospect Heights. And my mom was telling me, is like, back when she was living here, you'd never come here at night. You'd never be able to come sit down. And we went to a Thai place to have lunch, not brunch. And it's just incredible what can happen in a decade or two. And I think we have to prepare, like, and some people may not see that, some people may not see that for Jamaica. They may not see that for Negril, but trust me, I remember being a kid, a young person out like in these neighborhoods and I was like, get me out of here. Like, I do not feel safe. I don't want to be here. And now it's like the hottest real estate in the country in New York. So I just wanted to build perspective, build the picture here, and get some understanding of even why I'm showing this on a Jamaica centric channel, right? Because eventually we're going to get here. Eventually, I hope, eventually we're going to get the value for a real value for a beachfront property or living around a beachfront property. And he's going to mention something about subway stations and the value of neighborhoods and houses, apartments near subway stations, and why it's higher than living away from them or living on a bus route, even in New York City. And the same thing goes for the beach. And the beaches, probably here in Negril, that is, or I guess anywhere in Jamaica for the most part, if you're living on the beach, it's going to be higher. And the further that you move away from that beach, it's going to be a little bit more affordable. But nonetheless, the proximity to that is what's going to increase the value of the land, increase the value of rent, increase the value of the property as a whole. So let's continue on the video.
Right here? Yeah. Yeah, so this is your typical Brooklyn apartment. What you're about to see is what you can typically expect living in Brooklyn.
But before we see what Brooklyn renters are facing, if they can even manage to find an apartment, it's important to understand why most New York City residents can't even afford to live here in the first place and are being forced out.
It's a bit of an enigma to everyone that the velocity and the prices have gone up. And part of that has to do with the fact that potential buyers have sat out because rates have been high.
Now, New York City is the most expensive city in America. And this year, the average price for an apartment rental in Manhattan, $5,600 a month was what it peaked at. And part of the reason for that is that it's very hard to buy a house. If you want to buy a house, the mortgage rate is going to be through the roof. So most people are waiting to see if rates come down, and they've got to live somewhere, so they rent, which puts even more demand on an already strained rental market that doesn't have enough apartments. Now, if you want to rent a $5,600 apartment, you've got to make 40 times the monthly rent. That's how much money that is. You better be working at Google. You better be in finance.
So what he's talking about, in order to, I don't think we have, we don't have that here in Jamaica. So in even order to be even considered to be a rentor, you have to show your W-2 and show and prove that your income is 40x the monthly rent. And like he did the math, to do, I think, $5,600 a month, I think was the average rental in New York, you have to be making $224,000 per year. And it's like, and these may sound like crazy numbers and just unbelievable, but like in New York, it's very much, it is what it is, like it's like, and I don't mean to like brush it off or anything like that, or seem like I'm like accepting this, but like that's where things have gone in that market. And you have to be making a good amount of money to be able to afford average rent, be in a decent neighborhood, and that's just like to put like a roof over your head. And this is why in New York it's just so common to have roommates, because it's so expensive. Like not everybody can afford $5,600 a month, and not everybody's going to work in Google or in finance or make all this money. And so having a roommate is common. It's very, very, very normal. And maybe you have a rent that's $6,000 and you split it between three people and you're paying $2,000 a month each, which is very, very expensive alone. But then that doesn't even take into consideration like what your life goals are: saving, going on a vacation, going out to eat. What is your lifestyle like? And so like all these things, and this is, I guess, going to like a much bigger picture, you think about like lifestyle, like what kind of life do you have? What are your stress levels at? And I guess, is that worth it to you, living that life? But it's like one of those things that it just becomes your life. I don't know how to explain it. And you just kind of get sucked into this thing, this rat race. And I'm only bringing this up because I did an interview and I was just talking about my decision to move to Jamaica and not go through this rat race when I was trying to get my first job in finance. But nonetheless, it's like it's crazy in terms of like when you think about like the raw numbers and how much people actually have to make, and just again, to be able to afford like a quote unquote normal life and a financially not even secure but safe life, to be able to provide for your family and also to work on your future goals. And as we think about like Jamaica and where we're heading, it's like, man, like these are the things that I would say we want to really, really look out for, especially and most specifically when we talk and think about the average Jamaican. So let's continue the video.
You better be at a big law firm. It's hard to get a job that even pays that much. And if you can afford to rent that apartment, you're earning more money than 89% of America. And that's why many aspiring New Yorkers in the past once looked to Brooklyn for an affordable place to live. For many years, the New York City real estate market fluctuated greatly based on location. This was prior to work from home, which is relatively recent. And normally, the closer you live to a subway station or a popular part of Manhattan, like Midtown or downtown, the higher your monthly rent would normally be, and the smaller your apartment would be. It's been a pure location game for a long time. And you used to be able to move to Brooklyn, save a little bit of money on rent in exchange for more time commuting to certain parts of Manhattan, because we've got to cross a bridge or go under the river in order to get there. But since 2020 and the advent of work from home, all of that has changed. People who used to want to live in Manhattan because they could get a small apartment near their office and live a convenient life now no longer need that convenience. So they're looking at certain parts of Brooklyn where they can get a comparatively larger apartment, and that's what's pushing prices up.
In that same report, it also revealed that Brooklyn rents are up 25% year over year.
A 25% rent increase. That is bonkers. Most people don't get a 25% increase in pay. And if you live in Brooklyn and your rent goes up like that, you might not be able to stay. And that's why people are leaving. Look at these prices. $3,300 for a studio, a one bedroom, 38. Look at this chart. This is what rents have done in Brooklyn. That's insane. If you moved in here, you're not still living here when it's up here.
I just want to pause on this chart real quick. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is so crazy. And I know quite a few people that have fallen into this. So perhaps maybe they got like and I thought there would be like laws against this. Perhaps they got like a COVID deal where they moved into a new apartment. They got maybe a month or two rent free, and then their rent was say 20% below market rate. And then you look at this chart, and this is almost exactly where, like, I didn't even realize, but perhaps November 20, you come in
and all of a sudden moving to July 2023, they're going to smack on over $2,000 per month onto your rent. That's just crazy. I mean, it's pretty criminal, as a matter of fact. I don't even know what to say to that. And like how people, and again, I know people that were forced to move, or maybe they were in a 1 bedroom and they were forced to move in a 3 bedroom and share their apartment. And I've seen this with also YouTubers as well. Like I've seen YouTubers have like where their rent went up exponentially. I saw they did a report on MSNBC. This couple I think it was in Brooklyn, after COVID, they were forced to completely move out in New York City because of this. I mean, let alone your rent going up, $300, a couple $100 per month, but imagine it being 2,000. So this is really, really astonishing. Like when you really look at this, when you really look at a chart like this. And again, it's just like thinking like to here in Jamaica is like, what provisions can we put in place without, of course, there has to be a balance, because we don't want to stifle the market. We do want people to come in and companies come in and to invest in Jamaica and to help build the country. But at the same time, I believe there's an opportunity here to allow the benefit of these investments to benefit the average Jamaican, the average person here. And we don't want to fall into this category where 10 years down the line, we're looking at a chart like this. And that's how it's like, we got to think about that. That's how it's going to happen in terms of a timeline. This is not going to necessarily be an overnight. It could be, if we look at, we brought up the example of Tulum. And when you look at pre-pandemic Tulum versus post-pandemic Tulum, from what I understand, but when you look at the raw numbers of like how much hotels are costing and how much investment has gone on there, it happened very, very, very quickly. And so as Jamaica moves forward, and as we move forward with real estate and the economy, hopefully, crossing our fingers, continues to do well, we don't want to, I hope that this is not a chart that we want to find Jamaica at. So let's continue watching the video.
Your income also went with that curve. And this is the affordable part of New York City, not the unaffordable part. And this is still unaffordable. It's a cool place.
Very cool, man. One bed, one bath, $31.95.
Comes with a private backyard too, I'm guessing, huh?
Yeah, it does. It's a nice.
A little wet today for being in a backyard, but man, that is absolutely nice. There's no street noise because we're not facing the street.
Yeah, it's a great layout because there's 3 rooms, but it also has a separate living room and kitchen. I kind of like it.
So normally the kitchen would be here.
Yeah, typically.
Split units.
You got one of these in every room.
Nice.
Pretty nice, yeah.
Oh, it's just like a recent renovation. Is that the case?
That is the case.
In your opinion, is this bigger than a lot of apartments in this price range?
Yeah, absolutely. This makes a great living room because you have the outdoor space here. There's going to be a lot of foot traffic. No place better to spend some time right here.
I guess there's no power.
Not today.
When people move out, there's no electricity.
Yeah, this is a great spot for a real kitchen.
Oh, this area right over here?
Yeah.
Feels like one of the few apartments where you can have people over without too many challenges, I guess.
I'd say you're right. Yeah, the actual bedroom is over here. It's pretty nice.
It's pretty bright, even on a day like today.
Yeah.
What size bed do you think this is going to fit?
Queen pretty easily.
Queen? We are first floor, but I see lots of window bars. That's nice.
It's slightly elevated despite being on the ground floor, so you're not actually on the ground. And before they had the split unit AC.
I see Dash Yeager says all that for $3K. That's a steal. Honestly, I'm thinking the same thing. This is, I don't know the square footage. I don't know if I missed that or if you mentioned that, but I think this is for New York, for Brooklyn. This is quite a big space, believe it or not. But I just want to comment, hop in on that.
You can fit an AC window unit right in here.
Oh, that's why it's like a box.
Exactly.
What's the size of this room?
Roughly 80 square feet.
Yeah, queen bed, I guess, like right here. Oh, look at that. It's like a Manhattan walk-in closet. These people across the street are probably paying way more than we are over here.
Oh.
$31.95. You got to make what, 40 times the rent for this one?
Yeah.
So $127,000 has to be your income.
Yeah, Rents might be sky high right now, but they are not as sky high as Manhattan. This is only $31.95 right across the river. A place like this is almost double the money.
In Manhattan for this price, do you think it would be anywhere near this big?
No, not at all.
Sometimes it is unsustainable, and it is a huge factor when you talk about all the other things that we're paying more for.
So it seems like what's been slowly happening over the years, the slow pricing out of former residents in Brooklyn, has only accelerated recently. And now that inflation for like groceries and gasoline and basically everything else is happening on top of massive rent increases, you have a greater amount of people whose incomes aren't keeping pace with the local rents than ever before. And there is a 19.2% poverty rate in Brooklyn, and the rent to income ratio for people in Brooklyn is over 30%. Typically, a person whose rent to income ratio is over 30% is gonna have a tough time paying for things like medical expenses, auto repairs, food, clothing, other basic necessities. And the other crazy thing is here in Brooklyn, rents are rising so fast that even if you sign a long-term lease, like let's say you sign a 2-year lease, when you go to re-sign in 2 years, rent could be 30, 40, even 50% higher than what you just signed at, and you're still going to have to leave. So there's like no protection for anybody.
So that is crazy. So like, I guess he confirmed what I was assuming before, that there isn't any type of protection for renters in that regard, and that they could essentially increase your monthly rent to whatever they want. In Jamaica, we do have that. Like, you can only go up 7% per year, and yeah, I mean that's something. That's better than nothing, right? I mean, that's at least somebody can't come in, a landlord can't come in and say, "Hey, it's double." But in this market, clearly that's apparently perfectly okay.
And if moving to New York's affordable neighborhood isn't really a good long-term proposition, I don't know how anybody's going to be able to stay here for more than a few years. Dude, this is really good, man. We got different appliances in here.
I like this design. They did what they could, despite having a wall right there. You got some windows, you got some cabinets. It's pretty level. You have a fridge that opens the right way. I mean, whoever put this together, it's not stupid.
It's actually a pretty smart design because it doesn't take up hardly any space. Water's really good. I like everything about this, to be honest with you. I've seen some apartments where they block the windows to add maybe like an extra cabinet or something here, but I'm glad they kept it open. You can cook with company here, and you wouldn't bump into somebody. And look at these drawers. You can have stuff on both sides, and you can close it without a catastrophe. Put a little wastebasket in here. Oh, and it's clean too. This is where all the problems in an apartment are usually hiding and waiting for you. If the rent on this were to go up 25%, what would it be?
It would be about $4,000.
So this is a free market place, but if it were stabilized, would that offer you some protection from rent increases?
In the short term, yes, it would. But in the long term, this may become unaffordable. There's about a 3% increase they could give you each year. In 10 years, who knows what that becomes?
Their emotional pleas resonated in the room. Tenants trying to convince the city's rent guidelines board on Thursday night to not increase their rents.
This meeting took place over the summer when the rent guidelines board was meeting to discuss what the new rates would be for people who live in affordable apartments. Those rents went up too. Basically, in New York City, you've got 2 tiers of housing. You've got free market apartments where the rent can be whatever the landlord decides. And then you've got stabilized apartments. Now, these are apartments where the landlord doesn't control the final amount of rent. The city controls it. However, the city still has to come up with a rent that works for both landlords and renters.
$991 a month with 3 roommates in a rent-stabilized apartment.
Now, yes, a stabilized apartment is still much more affordable than a market rate apartment, but to folks who need a stabilized apartment to remain in New York, any increase at all could be so much that even they have to vacate. Now, one woman said she was paying $900 to live in an apartment with 3 roommates. The new guidelines allowed for
So somebody asked where this apartment is, and I just saw a sign for Bay Ridge. I mean, no wonder. Like, who wants to live in Bay Ridge? Like, there's no public transport. There's buses, but there's no like, you know, easy access to train stops or anything like that. Like, I think Bay Ridge, you need a car, honestly. So I see why you're paying $3,000 a month and getting that much space, because it's in Bay Ridge.
3% increase roughly, and that would mean she pays an extra $27 a month. Now, you might not think that's a lot of money, But remember, in Brooklyn, the rent to income ratio is already over 30%. So people are already spending more than they should on rent. Every dollar amount in the wrong direction could be catastrophic for people and for families. Also, the cost of living in New York is so much that even a $100,000 a year salary, once you take into account the overall cost of living, that gets whittled down to about $36,000 a year when compared to other major U.S. cities and other parts of America. And Brooklyn residents aren't making $100,000 a year on average. If the average price of an apartment in your neighborhood is above what the average person can spend, it's pretty obvious why that's not going to work long term, unless you make some drastic changes to how you live your life.
As nice as it would be to keep this as one bed just for yourself, you can halve the amount of money you're paying each month just by adding a second roommate. You have a roommate.
So then this would end up being like your kitchen / living area.
Yeah, you can fit a couch there pretty easily. And this is a queen size bedroom with the double closet.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Maybe they're not saying use it as a one bedroom because there's the backyard door.
Yeah.
But you could.
Good.
This is a good spot for a bed right here.
Perfect.
Now I guess you could go to Home Depot. You can get some paper shades with a window right here to like close it.
Yeah, and if you put the
This is what you got to do. you got to turn like this sunroom into a bedroom. And I've seen this before as well, just so you can have a roommate to be able to afford the rent for both of you. But yeah, you got to get creative out there.
there, you could have a nice home office setup over here. You go to out with the floor.
How big of a couch do you think you can get here?
I'd say a 4-seater at least.
A 4-seater?
Yeah.
Okay. But I guess that then means that the TV has to fit over here.
Yeah, you'd probably mount it over there. So instead of getting a big clunky table and putting it here to complement your couch, just get a standing bar cart, eat here. You're going to save so much space.
And I guess that would double your counter space because it's next to the kitchen.
Exactly.
So I guess it just makes me look at this room a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because now your whole life is in 80 square feet.
Yep.
You don't have like your bed and stuff in here and your office out there. This is everything.
By adding a roommate, you also only have to make $60,000 to live here. Halves what income you need.
Oh, so instead of 120, now you're at 60.
Yeah.
I guess for someone just starting out in New York, this could be the only option. How long do you think somebody would live in a room like this?
I'd say at least 2 years for the price you're paying.
Do you think it's worth it to rent something like this and kind of downsize your life?
I think it totally depends on your situation. If living in this apartment will help you achieve something that you can't achieve living anywhere else, then yeah, it's worth it.
Most people that rent something like this, they've got like a job, they're trying to get an education, they're starting a business, they've got some reason where they need the apartment other than just, I love it here and I enjoy paying for it.
I would hope so. Otherwise, you're wasting money.
2/3 of the apartments in New York City are occupied by renters who don't own. And as rents go up, the apartments people can afford just get smaller and smaller and smaller and tinier. Now, this apartment is a 2-bedroom apartment, and I live here with my family, but it's really tiny. Tiny kitchen. Oh, you think my kitchen's a mess? Let's see you make breakfast for 2 kids yourself. Your kitchen's gonna look like a tornado. This is also very New York. We don't have enough cabinet space, so inside the oven, we keep pots and pans. And to be honest with you, this place is already a little bit too small for us. The rent was $4,000 when we moved in a year ago. It is stabilized. The rent went up to $4,200. We also pay an extra $300 a month for parking. So it's $4,500 all in for a place that we can't stay in forever. And when I looked at renewing the lease here, I checked to see what other apartments were available. And other Brooklyn apartments with 2 beds and 2 baths were $6,000 a month if the building also had an elevator. And a stabilized apartment is supposed to be an affordable apartment, but if the rent's stabilized and it's stabilized at a level that's already unaffordable, it makes sense that most people are being forced out of a neighborhood like this. If this is the cheap place, if this is the stabilized place, that extra $27, that matters. We don't need a ton of space, so we could probably make it here for a few more years. But when they get bigger, we're going to either have to throw out all of our stuff, or the 4-year-old is going to have a bunk bed in this room, and my hats are going to have to go somewhere else. And no matter what part of New York City you live in, you're probably asking yourself this question: how long am I going to be able to stay here?
So I could tell you, like in New York or in Brooklyn, well, New York in general, like the hustle is to find an apartment. Like yeah, we say now $3,000. This, for example, $3,000 a month is very expensive, and the hustle really is to find a rent stabilized place that I will say $3,000 is a lot of money, but you basically stay in there. You some people do this. A lot of people do. You stay in there for like X amount of years, like 10 plus years. And believe it or not, in 10 to 15 years from now, $3,000 a month is not going to be a lot of money. Like I've seen that from, I mean, a lot is not going to be considered high rent. And I seen that like even like post college. I remember when people were paying $1,000 a month. And that was crazy back then. Like, you know, we're talking about to graduate 2006. So let's call it 2006, 2007. Like when my friends started first getting their apartments and they had roommates, and you know, anything over $1,000 was just like insane, you know, and everybody's trying to get like apartments with roommates for like $500-$600 or something like that. And now you would kill for those prices. But again, if you're living in a rent stabilized apartment, then you would and stay in there like it's 1,000, and you stayed in there up until now. I mean, you're sitting pretty. You're sitting super pretty. And like everybody who's complaining about what's going on, like this doesn't affect you in the slightest. Of course, the cost of living and everything around you is going up. I get it. But for the most part, you know, you're not worried about paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month because you sat tight for 10 plus years, 15 years, or whatever it is. And yeah, and you know, I guess you're okay financially in that respect. Let's finish up the video here.
If I can't stay here and I get priced out, where am I going to go? Especially if I've already gone from Manhattan to an outer borough like Brooklyn. There is no Brooklyn if I'm already in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's unaffordable. But what do you think? Is there a reason to move to New York City? Would you move to New York City? And what do you think I should do? See you in the next video.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Cash Jordan Cash. So yeah, I thought I hope you enjoyed that insight from this fellow YouTuber. Yeah, it's just again, it's crazy to think about this. I'm seeing the comments, and we're going to go through them in a short second here. And it's crazy to think about that these are the prices that you're paying like anywhere in the world. Yes, it's New York City. Yes, it's not Jamaica. Jamaica is not New York City. Jamaica is not Brooklyn. I get it. I understand. But again, we have to look into the future. We have to look down the line 20 years, and we have to learn from other municipalities and other communities around the world. And trust me, New York is not unique to this. We've talked about Portugal. We talked about even Bali, where these prices are being driven up astronomically. I just came from Tulum. We did a whole episode on that as well. And so these are things I want to say that I believe it's important that we learn from, and that we don't make the same mistakes that they did. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to bring more people along and bring more people into the fold of the trajectory that we're on in Jamaica. And I also think it's a great opportunity to even be better markets than them, because there's just so much that we can learn from what they have experienced, and all these markets around the world. We can learn so much from them, and we can have just a much better product. And we shouldn't be saying, oh, we got to do the same thing. No, we got to learn from them, do what they did, but do it better. And again, I think there's a huge opportunity here in that respect. Let's get over to the comments, and let's get into the discussion. Thank you very much, Darnell. Really appreciate your support. You're always great with this. Throp, good afternoon. The new spot to move is Jamaica, Queens. You can get a hood adjacent apartment for a reasonable price. It is 30 minutes subway ride to Brooklyn and Manhattan. Also, I emailed you for the lawyer info. I saw your email. Sorry I didn't get back to you yet. I will do that today. I'm backed up on a lot of emails, actually. So I would say I believe that first I'm hearing about Jamaica. I can easily see that. But it's like one of those things is you got to get in as soon as you hear about this, as soon as you think. So I don't know too much about Queens, but I remember going to Long Island City maybe like right after college graduation. So again, we're talking about 2006, 2007, and nothing special. Like it's Queens. It gets you to, as a Brooklynite, it's like it's just very hard to get to Queens on public transportation because you literally have to go from Brooklyn through Manhattan, then over to Queens. It's like, it's bonkers. And even though Brooklyn and Manhattan are, Brooklyn and Queens are right next to each other, there's no, unless you take a Long Island Railroad. But I mean, even that, like to go through Queens, like, and then you go to Jamaica, it doesn't even make any sense, right? So that's how you get to Queens. So I don't know too much about Queens, but I remember Long Island City, early 2000s, nothing to write home about. I went there about, man, I forget what I was going there for. Maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, and I couldn't believe it. It was just like a new city. And just, I'm sure there has to be somebody out there who did a video like Cash did here on Queens and the buildup and the investment that has gone in there. And their prices are like the same thing because it's just so valuable because you're right there, one train ride over the bridge and into the city. And the development in Long Island City, just unbelievable. I did a run there a couple years back. This must have been like right after COVID. And I was like, man, these buildings are beautiful. And it's like the same thing that you're seeing in like downtown Brooklyn. But I feel like they're even more further ahead. And somebody else, and who's in Queens or New York or Brooklyn can correct me, but I feel like they're even more further ahead than Brooklyn is in some regards. But this is good information to know, Darnell, in terms of Jamaica and buying somewhere hood adjacent. I hear you on that. Speaking of hood adjacent, even East New York and Brownsville, those are still locations that I would say, I mean, Brownsville, maybe not so much. But definitely East New York is still, from what I understand, is like still pretty rough, but it's like up and coming. It's up and coming. And it's like one of those things, it's like it's like we think about in Brooklyn, we always talk about the brownstones downtown, or even in Prospect Park, Prospect Heights, downtown, and you look at these beautiful brownstones, Cobble Hill, neighborhoods that you wouldn't step foot inside. You can say the same thing in Harlem with the brownstones up there. And now these brownstones are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. And man, you couldn't give them away before. You could not give them away before because the neighborhoods were so bad. Again, this is all within my lifetime. And this, and a location in Jamaica where I think like this is like directly applicable is downtown Kingston. And you look at downtown Kingston, even now, as a matter of fact, you look at downtown Kingston now, and it is pretty rough down there, but it's so much better than it was even 5 years ago. But the government, realtors, developers, they understand the value, like the true value of that area. It's I wish I could show a video. It's so beautiful, like just intrinsically, just very beautiful. Just the natural topography of looking over Kingston Harbor at the airport, Port Royal, like it is beautiful, beautiful. And the neighborhood is rough, really, really, really rough down there. But I can tell you, it's like you can see the investment that's going on there. You have different businesses like the Digicel building. I know I'm missing some. The convention center is right there on the water. That needs to be upgraded too, by the way. But the Rock Hotel, ROK, opened up there recently. I haven't been inside, but like I've seen pictures. It looks very beautiful. But like right downtown on the water, right across the street, essentially from Gloria's. If you know Gloria's, you know I'm talking about. Great fish spot. Shout out to Gloria's. I've been to both locations in Port Royal and then also the one downtown Kingston. And you can see, I personally can see, like I see a downtown Brooklyn there, in so many ways. I see a downtown Brooklyn there, and I can see, and then as rough as it is now, 10 years, man, it's just too valuable a piece of land. It's so close to the airport. I mean, that airport got to be like 10 minutes to get to Kingston Airport. Like it's got to be 10 minutes from that downtown spot that I'm thinking of. Like right there at Gloria. So anyway, like that's where I see this example that we're talking about with Brooklyn in this video.
for sure. But even a not so extreme example, like bringing it back to here in Negril, and I brought this up many times before, talking about the true value of the real estate here in Negril. Specifically, I can speak to that of hotels. And when you look at our room rates compared to other beach destinations, we are far below market rate, far below. And it just also just shows me from a hotelier business commerce perspective is that there's so much potential to get to where those markets are and beyond, because we're just not getting the value. We're just simply not. And I say this to say, like, and just you think about the surrounding areas as well, like same thing with residents, like, but you're now seeing this rapid appreciation in value, and some people are saying like this is way too much, and like I was even caught in that same loop with I had presented a 1-bedroom apartment at Point Village and non-refurbished, and it was by one of our own partner realtors, Moira Watson, and it was $325,000 US for this apartment. And at first I was like, yo, this is ridiculous. And I was talking to my friends. I was like, how can this be? And they were like, it's Negril. What do you think? You know, and then they weren't surprised. And then like we started to do the math, we started to do the appreciation. We also started to just do like a quick market analysis of what is out there. And we're like, man, I guess this is worth it. Because I was also thinking about the opportunity for market appreciation. It's like, if it's $325,000 now, what is it going to be? And what kind of reasonable increase in valuation can we expect in 5, 7, 10 years? And we're just like, man, these are going to be $1 million apartments. I was like, this is so crazy. This is so crazy. And perhaps I'm a little bit of a hater because I could have gotten on a Point Village like years ago and I didn't. And it was also this same mentality. And I guess this is why I'm so perhaps passionate about this in terms of expressing myself and heeding warning, if you will, and trying to have everybody learn from experiences of other markets, but also from that of my own. And I remember Point Village and I was thinking and looking at that property, I was like, this place has no future. I would never buy here. It doesn't matter. Like there was no organization. When you looked at the management structure, when you look at the infrastructure of the place was run down. All these things, all these negative things that you think of, and you just walk in there. But I honestly didn't understand the market. I didn't understand real estate. Honestly, I didn't have vision. But now look at it. Now we're talking about some of these apartments easily can go to $1 million plus. And so I just want to encourage people to keep that in mind and these lessons learned. Another one that I gave was Little Bay Country Club on the northern side of Negril. Said the same thing. I was just like, these things are way too expensive. They were probably like $200,000 pre-construction. And now these things are, and we're talking about like 2015, 2014, around then, like within 10 years, I'm talking here. And now it was 200,000. I thought it was way too expensive, too much money at the time. And now these things are, I think we looked at one, we're going to be visiting for the real estate tour, $750,000, I think it is, for a 2-bedroom townhouse. Again, what's that appreciation going to be in a few years? I mean, you better believe that thing is like, it's not going to stop. It's going to go over $1 million. And so it's just like these things we learn from, and we kick ourselves. At least I'm kicking myself with this, with certain things, and it's just like, man, like let's please get out of the mindset of like, how can we value Jamaican real estate at this? It's not worth it. The crime, the infrastructure, the road, and I get it, I understand it, but like, let's look past these things. Let's at least consider a future of these things being something that is concerns of the past and what that would look like. And I guess it's whether or not you believe that is even possible, but I've seen it. I would say, again, living in Brooklyn and growing up in Brooklyn, like visiting my mom in Brooklyn on weekends and spending summers out there and seeing these neighborhoods with my own eyes and saying, God, I wish and hope I never, ever have to get off this stop at East New York. And then a few years later, my mom ends up moving to East New York. Trust me, East New York in the 90s, I mean, it was just crack house, crack apartment after crack apartment, a gang. I mean, it was terrible, terrible, terrible. And now we're talking about it could possibly be one of the most sought after pieces of real estate in all of America. All right, let's get to these comments. A lot came in. Let's see what's going on here. All right, let's put this up here. Listen to Shayna. Please hit that like button. Would appreciate it. We got a lot going on here. I'm gonna go back to a few others. All right, sorry, I'm just trying to organize the comments as best as I can. Okay, there's a lot. All right, let's start going through it. Okay. Forever says, I would also cap the amount of real estate property one person can own. No more than 2. Real estate shouldn't be for the investors to sit on and take up housing stock. I mean, great idea, but that's fair. That's a fair idea, but I'm like, what is that really going to happen? There should be something. I mean, I feel like there should be, but man, it's just like we're in a capitalistic free market society, and it's just very difficult for me to see something of that nature, taking place. Janine says, my sister bought a condo, 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Clinton Hill years ago, and I couldn't understand it. She bought a house in New Jersey, moved and rented the condo for years, sold it 2 years ago, and made a ton of money. I believe it. Ingrid says gentrification is not necessarily a bad thing. People just need to have insight. I pray that a lot of us Jamaicans will be able to afford some of the beachfront properties. So I agree with you, Inga baby. Like, I don't think gentrification always has to be a bad thing. And I see some comments. Okay, here's a good one, perfectly timed. Weeds Collins says all going to be owned by foreigners. And it doesn't have to be. And but I would also say right now, talking with realtors, looking at the data, what's happening now in Jamaica is being driven by Jamaicans. And a lot of people don't understand that. Jamaicans live in the diaspora. It is being driven by them. And I think this is something that we should applaud and something that we should be proud of. We have Jamaicans who left Jamaica 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago sometimes. And like now they have built their careers. They have moved up the corporate ladders. Their businesses are doing well. And they are perhaps in the mature parts of their career, maybe moving towards retirement. And they have the disposable income to invest. And perhaps they even want to move back and retire here in Jamaica. And that to me, that's a dream. Maybe not the dream, but that's a dream, right? And you have Jamaicans who've gone abroad, got their education, built their careers, and in many ways to help build, let's take America, help build American corporations with their intelligence, with their experience. And now perhaps they're going to take that experience and bring it back to here, Jamaica. Now perhaps they're going to take that capital and bring it back to Jamaica and help build Jamaica. And I'd rather those folks, part of the diaspora, who have a vested interest in seeing Jamaica do well, come back, use that money and invest here, as opposed to investing in Florida, or as opposed to investing in Dominican Republic or wherever. I'd rather that money come back and circle back to Jamaica. And it's us as Jamaicans who are the ones who are not only helping build the country, but also benefiting from what is happening economically here. And not to say that I am against foreigners coming here. I'm not at all. And I think it's great that people who without any Jamaican affiliation whatsoever are considering moving here, are considering investing here. I'm also very proud. It just shows me that we are at a point as a country that we are looked at as an attractive investment opportunity, and people are seeing the light, so to speak. They have the vision and they understand they understand the market and have confidence
that Jamaica is moving in a positive direction and that they are going to get a return on their investment. And I'm sure they also enjoy the lifestyle if it is that they're moving here. And so I would just encourage us native Jamaicans, whether part of the diaspora community or who are living here, that if they are looking at it, and when I say they, non-Jamaicans, foreign direct investment in the traditional definition of the term, and they're considering moving here, and they're taking, if we go to a corporate level, tens of millions, sometimes even hundreds of millions of US dollars, and they're going to put it in Jamaica and they're going to invest in Jamaica. Just taking a second and to think and consider doing it yourself, or what that would look like to you and your friends or family members to invest in your country. And also maybe even ask, hey, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing? Why are they doing it and I won't even consider doing it? Democracy says, oh, wow, you watched Jordan too? Good guy. Yep, I agree. Eva says, I want to see a lot of investment in Jamaica without making real estate unaffordable, and that makes government regulation. No international people should be allowed to buy residential property. Again, the reality is like, do you consider people who are Jamaican living abroad international people? Because they are the ones who are driving this from a residential standpoint. We got to be clear on that. Like, that's just the reality. That's just the reality. Eva says, stop acting as if NYC salaries are huge for hardworking, educated people. Police officers with overtime can make $200,000 to $300,000 in NYC. Real estate prices in NYC are high because salaries are high. I don't know. Can somebody fact check that? A New York City police officer earning $200,000 to $300,000 per year. I've heard of Long Island police officers making a lot of money in Suffolk County. If there is $200,000, $300,000 in the police NYC, my assumption is an NYC department, an NYPD. It's probably high-ranking officers that have tenure and et cetera, et cetera. But no, making $200,000 in New York City, not common. We just went through the numbers. You saw it. I don't know if you commented early on the video when you wrote this for Eva, but the average salary, as you saw in Brooklyn, was $36,000. If I remember correctly. And no, people are not making $200,000. And you also said if you're making, I think he said $224,000, you're making more than 89% of the entire country on average. So yeah, you're not going to make $200,000. That's not, I wouldn't say that's super common, and that's not the average person living in New York City. Alfonso War says, good day, people. Throb, what's up? My sister rented a half of her property in Kingston 3 years ago. $70,000 today. She's getting $125,000 for the same property. Rent in Kingston is getting high. I believe that because the demand for Jamaica in general, is continuing to increase, and there are just more, and I think developers are understanding this. We saw with I think this was the last summer we were discussing this, Terra Nova, that it was a hotel, but then now what did they do? They converted from either hotel to luxury to apartments or apartments to hotel, but it just shows that people are just trying to, and investors are just trying to capitalize as much as possible on their properties and on their land space as much as they possibly can. Jan says, saw the video a few days ago. It's like a cat dog chasing its tail. If New York City rent prices continue to climb and you don't have significant or astronomical income to continue working in NYC, I'm sorry, I didn't get your thought there. But yeah, and we mentioned this before. Like when we think about blue collar workers in New York City, and just the people who really actually make the city run, bus drivers, taxi drivers, working in retail, subway, MTA, all these different things, then it used to be like the video said, live in Brooklyn, work in Manhattan, and you pay less for where you live, but you pay on the other end with your time, and that's your commute to get to work. And now it's like kind of no longer being the case. And as Jordan said, it's also this whole work from home phenomenon where now, as I talked about Bay Ridge and there not being so as they're talking about Bay Ridge and not being good public transportation or subway there. But now if you work remotely for Google, for example, or a tech company or whatever it is, now perhaps having access to a subway is not so important. And then you can live even further out, work from home. And maybe instead of taking the subway every single day, maybe you only have to go to the office 3 or 4 times a month. And to you, taking an Uber ride to do that as much is worth it, and it just doesn't bother you financially to do that, and maybe makes more sense. And again, you're less concerned with having a, a subway system close to where you're living because you can work from home. But let's continue. They out here, man, tourism and real estate gonna kill off Jamaica for real, for real. Chinese taking over Jamaica. The common people can barely afford basic living. It's only gonna be non-black Jamaican and foreigners owning the land. They're gonna be just like New York. Foreigners come in for the culture, drain the culture, make everything unaffordable, and complain about how expensive the land is for people. I'm gonna just finish off your comments here. They out here. People gonna move to Jamaica with remote work, barely contribute to society. Jamaicans already have to deal with the tourism and servicing foreigners and putting on a face. Now people want to spread that across the island. Okay, wow, you have a really different outlook than I do, perhaps. So where should we start here? Man, tourism and real estate gonna kill off Jamaica for real, for real. So they out here. I would push back on you and say, what do you think Jamaica should be doing as far as focusing its energy on in a particular industry that would generate the type of income that tourism has and type of revenue that tourism has that would either match or exceed that? And I'm saying this, I'm genuinely asking because I believe that Jamaica should absolutely diversify outside of tourism. And I've said this many times. I think it's so important. I even think with Negril and the direction that we're going in right now, and the many eyeballs are on Negril, I'm like, yes, tourism is the golden goose of Jamaica. It is what it is. That is what is earning a large majority of the revenue for the country. However, I don't think we should continue to putting all our eggs in one basket, and we should really focus on perhaps a long-term plan on what industry that we should be investing in, so to speak, that would allow us to diversify a little bit outside of tourism. So interested to hear your thoughts on that, they out here, and what else we should be focusing on. I don't think it would be a smart move economically to say, hey, let's stop focusing on tourism and do something else, just cold turkey. There has to be something that I wouldn't even say replace. I think we can do tourism plus this. I wouldn't even say replace, because why would we? We're great at it. There's somebody that put in the comment that we run multiple world travel awards for our hospitality and the product that we have to offer for the entire world. And there's just so many things about Jamaica that why would we want to not share it with the world? Between the music, the food, we opened up this discussion talking about these world record breaking events in distance running. We are the sprint capital of the entire world. Like, people want to know and be a part of this. And so people are willing to pay to just breathe the same air and eat the food that we're eating and that we take for granted. And so how do we build that out? How do we capitalize and continue to capitalize on that? So I don't think that would be a smart move for us to just cold turkey say, forget about it. Let's continue here. Chinese taking over Jamaica. I hear this a lot. Can you explain what you mean by that? I've been Yeah, we can talk about the infrastructure that's going on with roads, Chinese construction companies, and I have not heard, and I'm open to. I have not heard a strong example in terms of the negative effects of having Chinese investment come to Jamaica at this point. And if there is an example that I'm unaware of, please let me know. And you're talking about going to be like New York, foreigners come in for the culture, drain the culture, make people make everything unaffordable, and complain about how expensive the land is are the people. So I'll reiterate this. Like again, what is currently driving real estate, residential real estate, at least, is Jamaicans, and Jamaicans is part of the diaspora. So thank you for your comments there. Hopefully, I can hear back from you and see what you have to say. But we have a lot of comments, as you can see here. Let's keep going. Oh, this is your second. They'll probably have to move further away, longer commute. Thank you for that, Jan. Democracy says these prices was usually Manhattan, but people realize Brooklyn isn't far away, so they've sacrificed commuting and moved to Brooklyn, and it caused these jump in prices. Ms. Cole says this is crazy. People years ago, during and post-pandemic, people were moving out of NYC to Connecticut and buying homes here. I remember reading an article that apartments in NYC were in dire need of renting. So that happened. That's also happening in Hudson Valley as well. Like people are moving upstate out of the city, and they are also. This is also affecting like small towns and communities in upstate New York, especially with post-pandemic and the example that I gave about doing remote work. And there's also the mentality of like, why am I going to pay $3,000 for a 400 square foot apartment in New York City when I can move upstate, pay half the price, and have all this space and go to this cute little town that has a coffee shop, a little movie theater, a bowling alley, and I have a lot more freedom. And so what is also happening is that New Yorkers are moving, city New Yorkers, that is, are moving to these towns upstate, and they're increasing demand, which is also increasing rental prices. And like same thing in Florida, because having a New York City finance tech job or whatever it is, a job that allows you to work remotely, but you're getting that New York City salary, but you're in Florida, you can just afford so much more. And again, that's also increasing the demand. So that is a tale that continues to be told in this new reality, if you will. All right. Okay. Jeff says, beware foreign ownership, small money and large money out. It can be a two-edged sword. Gentrification can be a curse. As to rates in Negril, too far to travel for many. Good point. Good point, Jeff. So I would say small money in, large money out. This, I would say, is more of a concern, I would say, for larger corporations. I brought this example up before. There was a finance economic study done on the real dollar impact that hotels were having, specific to Negril, were having on the Jamaican economy, and what this report that was done by some Oxford institution, what it found essentially was that in real dollar terms, that us small hoteliers were contributing far more than these large foreign hotels. And that's just the way it was structured. And it's just this was probably a little over 10 years ago, or close to 10 years ago, around that roughly. And it just goes to show you that I would say the importance, and this is kind of what I'm advocating here for, is that we should be investing in our own community, in our own country, because again, we have a vested interest. And so if you look at, take my dad, for example, and I'm not trying to, toot our own horns here, but look at the story of my dad, right? He was a young Jamaican who left Jamaica when he was 19. And the same story can apply today in its own different way, in its own modern way. Dad's 19-year-old, leaves Jamaica, moves to England, was his first stop, took a boat there. That's what you did back in the day, right? and he had a few entrepreneurial ventures as a young 20-something-year-old. Started a nightclub. He was a photographer. He was a bouncer at one point. Then he moved over to New Jersey, Metuchen, New Jersey, I believe was his first stop in the States. Then eventually he he was hustling, doing driving taxi, and then after doing eventually after being a taxi driver, he was a pioneer in the gypsy cab service in Brooklyn, because back then in our neighborhoods, these very same neighborhoods that we're talking about, these black neighborhoods, the East New York's, Canarsie, all these places, it was very difficult for black people to get a car, a taxi to go to work, because it was very racist back then. And so the yellow cabs weren't picking up our people in our neighborhoods. And so we had people like my dad that were the gypsy cab service that were picking up our passengers in our neighborhoods and taking them to work. And then the dude who was renting the car to my dad says, like, man, if I had 5 more of you guys, I would make X more amount of money. And my dad's like, oh, no problem. And he got 5 of his boys, came, and then he started to build this association. So he actually started the Taxi Cab and Limousine Association. At some point, I'm sure I'm mixing this up. Anyway, started Winthrop Car Service, built it up, as I mentioned before, did really well for himself. Then decides he was a travel agent, traveled all around the world, over 100-something countries, got all this worldly experience as a Jamaican who came to America with essentially absolutely nothing, walked to school with no shoes on his feet every day. And the only time he had shoes was to go to church on Sunday. That's it. That was my dad. That's how he grew up, extremely, extremely poor. And had a great career in the United States. He built up his business as an entrepreneur, doing different ventures around the world. And he was there for 40 years. Sorry if I'm misquoting this story, Dad. And decided to move back to Jamaica and invest in the land, and bought a beachfront property in the 90s and slowly built up Travelers Beach Resort, starting with one wooden cabin. And he came into this community, and now he's built up came into this community, and then he had, of course, me and my 2 younger brothers. And then we, grew up, born and raised in New York, used to come down here for summers. And then after we graduated college, we decided, hey, we're going to come and join the family business. And this all started, and now my dad is retired. And this all started with my dad having this dream and coming back and investing in his country. And now you look at the impact that this one decision has had on a community, right? And so you look at me, I mean, who knew YouTube was going to be a thing? And now I have a YouTube channel that is dedicated to hopefully opening the eyes of anybody to consider moving to and investing here in Jamaica. And now I'm having an investment conference that is encouraging more people to do what my dad did. And now, did he have this in mind, and was this his vision? I don't think so. But it just goes to show, it's just like, there is probably another story that is out there, are going to happen, that is going to have, even more of an impact. And you just don't know how these dominoes are going to fall. And so my point in that is just like, I think it's important that us as Jamaicans, if we have an opportunity to get in on what I think, again, is going to be a very positive Jamaica in regards to its future. Like, why not? Why not? And are foreigners going to own Jamaica and parts of Jamaica? Yes. But to what extent? And hopefully that we can hopefully us as Jamaicans, we can, I'd like to say, continue to see the value and worth of what we have. And for those, don't let things slip through the fingers. So I'll just leave that rant right there. Let's continue through the comments here. I think Jeff had one more comment that I think I said. I must have missed it. Oh yeah, here it goes. And oh no, I got it. Beware of foreign ownership. It will be two-edged sword. Got it. Donna Bryce says, my dad used to own a condo at Ocean Towers, downtown Kingston. Property values have skyrocketed.
Marcia says, at the present time, there are no undesirable neighborhoods in Brooklyn. There you go. Maria's product, Brooklyn Transformation, is phenomenal. Mark T says, I worked in Brownsville for 9 years in East New York, and it is still pretty horrible to see how they live. Eileen, hi Throb. How did the earthquake affect properties in Negril? Any damages to hotels? Are those new developments? Nope, nothing at all. Very lucky, very blessed. Thank you for asking. Drax says the prices for houses everywhere in Jamaica tend to be high in areas where a mid-class Jamaican desires to live. The prices are quoted in US, and they are nowhere below, 30 million Jamaican dollars. Yausha, the so-called first world is turning into African diaspora, be it Africa and Caribbean. Invest in your homeland. Jazzy Tower, that's a railroad apartment. Barely have elbow room. Excuse me. Jan says, a recent video about housing and rental prices in Tokyo said the cost remains affordable because they built housing, then about 30 years later demolish the building and rebuild the spot. Interesting. Throp, what happened to your Brooklyn accent? I don't know what happened to it. Comes out every now and then. All right. A lot more comments come in. All right, let's get through. I'm going to scroll up here a little bit. Hey, Suzette, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Our channel member, thank you. Appreciate your support. Oren says, Throp, at some point in time, the market is going to crash. These housing prices are not sustainable. I would say maybe you're referring to New York, perhaps, but it's not housing prices. Remember that it's rental prices that we're talking about here. Housing prices, yes, are high, but what's driving people away from, say, buying houses right now is the very high interest rates, and then plus the capital for the down payment as well. So in regards to Jamaica housing crisis, like just when you look at the fundamentals, it'd be like, if it's going to crash, we'd have to believe that we're in a bubble. And I don't believe that we're in a bubble. I don't think so. Like, especially when I look at, I'm just going to talk about what I know when I look at Negril, and I'm like, we need more housing. Like, there is no question about it. Housing is severely, severely needed. And investors who come in and develop, they're going to do well because the demand is there. So when I look at the prices and I go back to my example about that Point Village 1-bedroom apartment, I think $325,000 for this unrefurbished place, I'm like, yes, my initial gut feeling was like, man, this is so much money. This is overpriced. And I wanted to say all these things. But again, when I sat back and think about it and I looked at the market, I'm like, no, it's not overpriced. And I do believe, like, somebody who invests and pays for that right now, I think they're going to get appreciation on their investment. Jester says, it's a lesson of a lifetime where everyone sees desolation. Open your mind for long-term prospect. It only takes one block to start to rewrite the history of any location. There you go. Throp, you missed out on the $300,000 townhouse several years ago. Where are you personally considering now so you don't miss out again? Well, you're going to have to find out at ThropX. So I know you're coming, Jay Fitz. We are going to be talking about that very deeply. And on, like, if you're coming on the live stream at ThropX and you're going to be part of the virtual audience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I will share that with you personally, and perhaps, yeah. And so if you're coming to the conference, you will have that information. And this information is not only my personal thoughts, but this is also the insights of a lot of expert people that I've been talking to and who are going to be at ThropX 2023. So, Jay Fitz, I know you don't take any offense to me diverting that question, because you will have
the answer to that question in just a few short days, and you're going to get more than you bargained for with that answer. Suncoast Villas. Suncoast Villa in St. Thomas in that price range could be a steal. So as you say that, guess what? Suncoast is a platinum sponsor for ThropX 2023, and they are going to be there in full regalia. And they're going to be there, and very, very happy to be working with them. And if you didn't see the live stream with myself and Kevin Frith, you can go back and take a look at that. And he and his team are coming, and they will be making a presentation at ThropX 2023. And very happy and proud to be sponsoring, working with them as a platinum sponsor for this year. So thank you for that opportunity for you to let us know, let you know about one of our platinum sponsors for this year. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for those who wanted to know more about the other side of the island. And it's also showing that we're not only talking about Negril and talking about this side of the island in terms of opportunities. And this is, to me, is a real way of showing that. So that is hopefully gives you more confidence in terms of the information that we're going to be divulging during ThropX. We says all that being taken place in these cities by design by elites. Could be. But I would say, let's look at Negril. Who are the elites designing Negril? As far as I know, there's nobody. Do I believe and think that Negril is going to reach a level of prosperity that we perhaps can't imagine today? I do. I really, really do. And so, as you say that, perhaps that is the situation. Perhaps that's what's happened in New York in these markets. Who knows? Who knows for sure? But I'm saying we're in the infantile stage of a market that we are familiar with, that we continue to educate ourselves about. And there is no, at least I don't feel as if there is any puppeteer that is pulling strings to make this and make that happen. I feel very much in control of opportunities that I would like to be a part of. And I truly mean that. Jazzy Tower says, what is going on in Port Royal? That feels like an unappreciated spot to me. I was there in August, loved it. I agree. I went there for the first time, I think. No, this must have been in the spring. Yeah, in the spring. I was like, man, this place is amazing. Amazing. So agree totally. I don't know what's happening there, but you have a good point there. Alfonso Blick says many Jamaicans only see opportunities outside of Jamaica. I guess many Jamaicans, sorry. Natty Drez says benefiting. Eileen says Kingston prices might be on par with Brooklyn soon. Most people will look at Portmore for affordable housing. That would increase Portmore too. 100%. I could see that happening in Kingston very quickly. Very, very quickly. I mean, the only thing that I run from in Kingston is that traffic. I don't know how they're going to solve that. I really don't. I mean, it is just horrendous. And you know the times you shouldn't be moving around the city. But I mean, with such a growing population and high demand for housing there, I just don't know. It's gotten better in some areas for sure. And the investment is being made, but it's still bad. Natty Dread says, can't benefit when it's hard to open a bank account and when you do the bank stealing your money. See the videos on Jamaicans talking about NCB and Scotia stealing their money. I've seen a few. I've seen a few videos. And yeah, there is. I don't know about opening a bank account. I'm not sure. I haven't. The last time I've opened a bank account was for this money. This was a car. I mean, I guess I already have. I'm in the system, so to speak. So I can't really speak from the perspective of a new person coming to or going to a bank. But I'll leave that there.
Dr. Joni C, great point. However, culturally, folks need to be forward thinking, want to have a wealth building legacy. I live on Long Island. The salaries are made up of lots and lots of overtime gentrification. There you go. For Eva said, I said with overtime, NYC police officers making 200, 300K a year are subsidized by the mafia. Yeah, I can't comment on that. Nicole Knight says, honest, believe you are a godsend for Jamaica. Thank you. You were definitely born for a purpose, and within the season of your season, your purpose is uplifting our great nation. I'm happy you chose Jamaica as your home. Thank you very much. Nicole, appreciate your kind words. For Eva says, traveling nurses are making like $100 an hour, and the U.S. salaries are for a lot of people spiked during COVID. Is the truth? Yep, I've heard about that. Particularly traveling nurses. And then we says, while nurses are making regular salary. I'm not sure the context of that comment. We says, I live in New York and nurses themselves are struggling. Sadly, those gentrified areas in New York City no more now. They are met and want kids, want NYC life without the lawns and yard, trying to get us to sell our property so they can create condos. Dosey Do says, anyone buying land on Hogs property West End? Yeah, there's a lots of property for sale in Hogs Heaven. That's what they call it. Lots and lots of property, and people are buying there. For Eva says, we need more tourism, not less. We need to reduce import duties for other industries to flourish. I cannot agree more with this. And I think after Thropex, I'm really going to do some research into this. And we talked about the article that Lisa Hanna put out, the opinion column, maybe a couple weeks ago, and she gave the example of the chicken industry and there being these high duties on import of chicken so that the two main chicken companies are protected from outside competition. But I believe that they're like also like along those same lines, and I said this before, and to your point, for Eva, is that man, to me, I think lowering these duties would really give, especially, if Jamaica is saying that we're just this pro entrepreneurial country, is like, give local entrepreneurs a chance to, even from a moral material standpoint, not even from a retail standpoint, like, and clarifying what I mean on that, like a retail, I would say is like, say somebody had like a variety store or even a toy store, and they were bringing in like these toys from America or for China, wherever, and they were reselling them. I mean, if somebody were to do, anybody doing that, they're just going to have to sell it at a very high price, and then they're going to have to pass those expenses onto the consumer. And so we as consumers, we end up suffering because we are not necessarily getting the lowest prices possible, because there's already a benchmark that you'd have to be paying based on duty alone. And same thing with raw material. I would say that if you were an entrepreneur that wanted to, say, build from scratch and be able to say and have something that says made in Jamaica, whatever that may be, but to get those raw materials to come into Jamaica is astronomical, would be astronomical, and it would be so much, it would just kind of just deter you from even starting that venture. So I agree. I think that's something that could be looked into. And I don't know, and like this is why I'm saying, like, I want to do a little bit more research. Like, could there be an economic reason as to why? I don't believe there is, but there could be. It's an economic reason in a positive way that tariffs are high because Jamaica is bringing in this X amount. And maybe there's an economic study to show that it's better to have high tariffs because of X, Y, and Z. But, was there a study done on like, hey, if you lower tariffs, you can make so much money as a country on the back end? And so this is kind of where my curiosity in my mind goes. And it's just like, hey, let me look into both scenarios, a current scenario and perhaps a future with slightly, not even say slightly, but with lower tariffs. What could that look like for our country? Oren says, I don't know what he says. What are you saying, Orn? Dr. Joni C says, Jamaica, watch out. Need to reclaim English so we can get more opportunities in the global job. Lots of jobs go to non-English speaking folks since Jamaicans don't speak English. Corey MPA says, I share the word to invest in Jamaica, but the first thing said is safety. These conversations are great but meaningless without addressing the safety issue. I mean, again, I would say, like, let's look at Brooklyn, right? Let's look at these neighborhoods in Brooklyn. Again, these were the worst neighborhoods, and we want to talk about safety. It wasn't safe. Were not safe neighborhoods. And so what happened? How did neighborhoods from one day to the next, or from one year to the next, become these extremely drug infested, gang infested neighborhoods that were not safe places to raise families, were not safe places to go at night by any means? And now there's bars, restaurants, Starbucks, I mean, this, that, lounges, you can go walk around, not have to worry about watching your back or anything like that. How do we go from one extreme to the other? And it's like people decided, like, okay, we need a safe neighborhood to be safe. And so I seen it. So what ended up happening, I forget what they called, but you start seeing, and I'm going to be crass here, but this is what it is. But in Brooklyn, first you start seeing white people coming, and you're like, and I remember I gave this example. I remember when I was on the train, I fell asleep on the train. I think I was coming home one night. Maybe I was at a bar, maybe I wasn't. I fell asleep on the train, and I end up going to like the last stop, which was Utica, and I missed my stop, and then there was this white girl on the train. And I was like, and then I was like thinking she was going to get off at this stop, and then she didn't. I think she was going to at this stop, and she didn't. And then I was like, what are you still, this is like 10 plus years ago. I was like, what are you still, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you still doing on the train right now? I'm like, you are going to the hood. And she gets off in the last stop. And I just stayed on because I had to go back because I missed my stop. And I was like, what is going on here? A few years after that, I remember I was just coming back from picking up my laundry. Again, white girl runs past me. She's on a jog, and I like look back, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." I'm like, "Scare me? What are you doing here?" And I was like, "This is crazy." And this is because you just don't see white people in my neighborhood, in these neighborhoods, because again, they were perceived as dangerous and places that only black people live in and only black people go. And so then you start, like, this is what you start to see. And then you start to see these, I forget what they're called. Like, basically they're these like police watchtowers, and they just put them on strategic corners according to them. And I don't think there's anybody in them, but it's a camera system. It says NYPD, and they have the lights and everything on them, and you see them at different corners in certain neighborhoods, in troubled neighborhoods. And then they also have these forget what they're called, but basically they are microphones that pick up gunshots. So it's like, as soon as they hear like these gunshots over a certain decibel level, there's like a quick response unit that gets to wherever it is, and they're just like ready to go and ready to pounce. So this is like the process that I personally witnessed and I personally experienced. And then after a while, like, you have these observations by the NYPD, then you have this clampdown, and then you have this clampdown, and then you have this clampdown, and then all of a sudden there's just more and more white people moving into the neighborhood. And then this becomes, all of a sudden, over a period of time, becomes a safe neighborhood, because also there are businesses coming in. And to me, as Inga Baby says, gentrification isn't always bad. And I think bringing down the crime level in a neighborhood because of gentrification, hate to say, but I think bringing the crime down in a neighborhood is a good thing. Like, should it have happened earlier with the black people living in the neighborhood? Absolutely, 100%. Where were y'all 10 years ago? Where were y'all when was going to talk about an example about a shooting in front of my apartment, but I'm not going to talk about that. But where were you guys then? And it's crazy that that's what it takes and that's what we've seen. But when it's just unfortunately when these investments start happening and certain people start moving into a neighborhood, that's when the demand for X, Y, and Z starts happening. And that's been my experience. So to answer your question directly, Corey, what I do think that things are being put in place, and we have a safety and security panel for ThropX, as a matter of fact, to address this, because I think this goes directly hand in hand with investment, and I get it, and I think it's very, very important. I think it's paramount, but I've seen an experience where crime and safety is a concern one year and then next is not. And now I do think, is Jamaica capable of doing that? I'm not sure. But when I look at the investment into the JDF, where not only in terms of equipment and infrastructure, if you want, when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about vehicles and things of that nature, and then also investment in recruitment and increasing police numbers, because that's also a challenge that I know the police department, JDF, has, is that we need more recruits, and this is coming from the top cop himself, and that seems to be a bottleneck. When I see the investments being made into police stations across the island, into lockup across the island, into technology, I was like, okay, things are moving. Is it moving at a pace that we think is acceptable? No, of course we want it to move faster, and of course we want to see Jamaica be a safer country than it is today. But I personally believe that the future for Jamaica is brighter than it is today as far as safety and security, and I do think measures are being put in place to allow Jamaica to be put in a position where, when a clampdown is needed and when they're ready and in a position to do so, that they will. These are just my speculations. These are just my assumptions. Would I like to see it to happen tomorrow? Yes. And we're going to hear again at ThropX, we're going to hear from the experts on this very subject and get an understanding of, dare I say, inside strategy, but just getting an understanding of what the plan is and what's happening, what's going on. Thanks for the comment, Corey. Safi Anderson says, part of the issue in Jamaica is that everyone wants to live in the same areas: Kingston, St. Catharines, St. Anne, Mobay. Why? Because this is where the goods and service industry is and where jobs are. Man, so many comments. Shayna Love Coaching. Oh, look at this. Channel member, 19 months. Appreciate you, Shayna. Quick question. Will there be a discussion on at ThropX about how to obtain a driver's license, or is necessary if you already have one? Good. No, a short answer is we don't have anything dedicated to that, but that is pretty easy. Like if you have a driver's license, say a New York driver's license, you can use it here. But if you're moving here, you do and should apply for your Jamaican driver's license. I know how to do that. We've done it before, obviously, and when I say we, as a family, so we can. If you want to talk to me about that directly, Shana, I'll be more than happy to help. Kenway, what's going on? Kenway says, I don't understand how some Jamaicans want to migrate to and own pieces of other people's countries, but are against other people from migrating and owning a piece of Jamaica. It is disingenuous. Great point. Yeah. Good point. Please, if somebody has an answer to that, let us know. Dr. Journey C says, Throp, many want to do that. My cousin grew up knowing your dad, Mr. Wellington, common name when they go to Jamaica. Awesome. Cool. Andrew Max says, Throp, do you think the Jamaican government should be offering incentives to Jamaicans in the diaspora to move back home and start businesses? 100%. Absolutely. No doubt. Absolutely. I think there should be some sort of incentive put in place. I know they have the, what is it called? Basically, if you're a repat, if you're moving back to Jamaica, you are able to move, and then we're going to also talk about this in at ThropX. We have Dennis Shipping. They are going to have representatives on the panel, but there are a lot of incentives from a tariff perspective when you are shipping, when you're moving back and you're, say, shipping your home to Jamaica. And so that'll be discussed in detail. But I do think even outside of that, I would even say, even from a business perspective, just like we give many of these foreign companies crazy incentives to invest in Jamaica, I think we should be doing the same for our Jamaican diaspora. At least something. All right, let me get to some more comments. Dr. Joni says, great point. Sadly, message is that Blacks are not worth the investment for quality of life. Hopefully, it is not a global mindset. I think Dr. J is talking about, referring to my experience in Brooklyn. Justin D says, I saw plenty of New York City in the late 80s and early 90s. It was called Zoo York for a reason, partly a system designed to keep us down, partially we be acting crazy ASF too. Yeah, I agree, definitely that. Yeah, I agree. That it's definite, like that, like those times were crazy. And I felt like back then, I definitely felt like, man, the system in so many ways was against us. And still today, the system is definitely against us. But like, I felt they were like very much trying to keep us in Brooklyn, and they were like, the powers that be were holding us there in like this crazy, crazy way, because it's just like it was what it was. Obviously I was a kid back there in the 90s, but I just felt, Brooklyn's for black people. This is where I see all the black people. Like that was my perception back there. And it was just like, I didn't really necessarily think anything of it. I just thought this is the way life is. Andrew Max says, Throp, the crime rate in ENY has declined substantially from the 70s and 90s era. Revitalization played a part in that. A neighborhood doesn't have to be gentrified to be safe. It can be revitalized. Corey MPA says, Throp, it's called a spot shotter. This is the device mic that I was talking about. Thank you for that. Corey MPA says, I lived in Brooklyn for undergrad, lived in Queens and Bronx. NYC is still a place you say get home safe and mean it. Even today, only a certain few run to NYC these days. Fair point. Zester says, security also requires funding for safety of business. They work hard, hand in hand with the security outfits. That's how it goes. Shane Locojan says, Throp, you may want to consider a show segment, story time with Throp. Hashtag I see white people. Hey, we could. Why not? Darnell says, don't wait for safety. By then, Starbucks will be there and you will be priced out. Find ways to buy and hold. You're saying what I was trying to say without saying it. In a nutshell, yes. That's it. I don't know. I was trying not to say that exactly, but that's the point, Darnell. That's the point. Because you're going to, like, once a place is safe, quote unquote, you're going to pay far more for that. And maybe those people, investors, are like that. They're like, fine, I'll wait. And they don't want to. They don't want to buy now in these unsafe neighborhoods or these unsafe times. But you hit it right on the head. Andrew Max says, one of the purpose of import duties / tariffs is to encourage people to buy local and use local resources. Sure, but I agree with that. And like going back to the chicken example from Lisa Hanna, that was the point of putting that in place, was protection for local chicken producers, right? But what she was arguing in her what she's arguing in her column is that that is no longer the situation. What we have done is created an oligopoly where there is only two main chicken producers that exist in Jamaica, and they no longer are incentivized to bring prices down. And where now we are paying higher prices in Jamaica for chicken than in quote unquote first world countries. And that shouldn't be the case. And she made the point that chicken cost is directly correlated to chicken feed, the cost of chicken feed. And it's again, according to Lisa Hanna, is a variable cost pricing structure, and chicken feed is much lower in cost, but you haven't seen, as a consumer, we haven't seen the price of chicken go down relevant to the price of chicken feed. And so the incentive that was initially put in place to protect these companies, to allow the consumer to feel the benefit of lower prices, is no longer serving the consumer in Jamaica. We're actually suffering because of that. And that was her argument. And so I get it. So I think of and it's hard, right? So I think of like a Jamaican carpenter, right? And we want to protect our local carpenters. And I think the skills that we have for skill set of carpenters locally are very, very high, and they do a good job. And that's like the one thing that I really like about Jamaica. Like, if I need something to be built, I know who to call, and I don't got to go to Home Depot and try to do this thing myself. They're available. But at the same time, and we said this many times, we don't have enough carpenters in Jamaica. I can tell you here in the West, they are overworked and oversubscribed because we don't have enough. And like, even that, I think there needs to be a study done on that. And my experience, I found one in the almost 20 years where I'm at, 17 years here in Jamaica. I've done many, many construction projects, small, large, complete refurbishment of the hotel here. And there's only one carpenter that I have found, and there was a carpenter that I've had on this show that I found to be reliable. And he's Jamaican, worked abroad for many years, had his company in New York and Brooklyn, and done very well. And he came back, learned all these skills of carpenter, and increased his skill set in the trade, and came back. And he brought that here. And he brought not only a high level of skill, but he also brought a higher level of professionalism. And he put down, I can't say it now, but he put down the laminate flooring here in this office, in the studio, sorry. And he's the best I have. And I work with many carpenters. When I say unreliable, like, generally speaking. And they are very skilled. They know what they're doing, but the demand for what they do is just so high. And now we're talking about this boom that's happening in Jamaica, right? With real estate and these developments that are happening, and people want these custom beds and this. And so their demand for their skill has also gone up as well, and they can't keep up with it. And so it's, again, and then they're going to charge more because of supply and demand. It's capitalistic economy, right? So at what point do we say, all right, we need to we need to do a little bit more, bring some more beds in, right? Because we don't have the capacity to produce enough beds. And this is just an example, right? And so at what point, and like, now is the consumer suffering from in terms of pricing? Are we paying a higher price because we are now keeping outside markets that would bring down pricing, and also perhaps even alleviate the stress and pressure of our local carpenters? So just food for thought, for something for us to think about. And then there's so many other things that we can extrapolate out from having a lower tariff, and what other businesses and incentives can we create based off of that. All right, let's go down to these comments. Channel of Coaching says, usually when gentrification is happening, it was already 10 years in the making. I learned that from watching a documentary on gentrification. Yeah, I remember. I didn't see this documentary, and I haven't watched any documentaries on gentrification, but I watched a YouTube video on. It was actually like Casey Neistat, one of my favorite YouTubers, and I don't remember. Maybe somebody can tell me that the name of that tower, which is the tallest residential building, I believe, in the United States, on Billionaires Row. I believe it's on Park Avenue, overlooking Central Park, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you can see this building from the sky, but just to give you an idea of like the wealth that we're talking about, at the time that this video came out, which I think was 3 years ago, they were still in construction of this building. It was the penthouse apartment was 60 million US dollars, which is crazy, right? And they interviewed the developer, and again, we're in construction, and Casey asked them, how long did it take you to get to this point? And he said 10 years. 10 years, being committed to that project. So to your point, Shayna, it's like these things don't happen overnight, and we have to have, I wouldn't even call it 10 years long term. I would call that medium term at best. But we have to have these medium term thoughts, and obviously be very patient with our investments and as we move forward. But like that's just something that always stood out to me, is just like, man, we see this building and we're like, man, this is billionaires and multi millionaires who are living here and who developed it. But 10 years, that's what I have in my mind. King Naldo, thank you very much for the donation. Much appreciated. Hey Throp, there are several deportation of expats from Jamaica recently due to ignorance of the process. A Texas couple who really relocated to Jamaica in 2022 with 60 G's US now are broke and getting deported. What? I have not heard this. Can you send over an article or anything on that? I'm just making sure, like, I'm reading your comment right. No, I have not. I have not heard about that. Very, very interesting. I would like to know. I would like to know more about that and look into that. Thank you for that, King Naldo. I got to find out what's going on with that. Interesting. Dr. J says, so true, training customer service business 101, economics 101 is needed in Jamaica and Jamaicans as a whole. Hyderka says Jamaica needs more Jews and Saudi Arabs to invest there and curb crime. Well, I would say there was a contingent from the Middle East. I want to say, man, this got to be like 3 years ago. I feel like it was before COVID. They came here and they were looking to do some crazy, I would almost say scary investing here from what I was hearing, but I haven't heard anything since. I don't know if anybody anything or heard anything in that regard, but I remember that. I was like, wow, got real oil money coming here. Simone says, I have a project in Jamaica and I am doing my best at all costs to avoid working with tradesmen there. Professionalism is non-existent. I wouldn't say it's non-existent. You just got it's hard to find the right person. I mean, think about it. Been here 17 years, and it was just last year that I can say I found a carpenter that I can recommend. It's like one of these things, you just go through this process. And like same thing with an electrician like we have here now, like solid electrician, him and his and I talked about him before, Mr. McKenzie. But the other thing it's also a concern is the succession of these skill sets. And I was talking to him. I was like, who's your second? Do you have a young person, man or woman, who's coming up under you that you're training? He's like, man, they don't want to work. None of them. And he's a very, I would say, high skilled electrician, the best that I've worked with here. But I've had some good electricians. I have to say, some very, very good electricians in Jamaica. But Mr. McKenzie is definitely the best and is doing really well. Worked on him with multiple projects. All right, let's see. Alfonso Worth says, I'll ask you guys on this live chat to look up the recent diaspora speech in Canada by the Prime Minister, and you guys will get some good information on where Jamaica is heading. Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. Foriva says, we need more trade schools more than we need more investment in tertiary education. I can see that. Get people in the workforce quicker and give them a skill. TNK, is it true over 10,000 cars a year are being sold in Jamaica? I heard some crazy statistic. I think we went over this. We went over this a few months ago about the some astronomical increase in cars being imported in Jamaica. I forget what it was, but it was up there. All right, just trying to get some more comments. Sorry, I didn't even make note of these. Sitting here watching says Jamaica is not ready for first world policing. Why are they not wearing the body camera that are sitting there idle in their office? I don't know about that. Ricardo says, hey, let's all like up the live, help with the algorithm. Thank you very much, Ricardo. I would appreciate a like for sure. And I know a lot of people here are not subscribed, which is crazy. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, definitely hit that subscribe button. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Because you're missing out on so much. You're missing out on so much. You're missing out on conversations of this nature. And we wouldn't want that. Jan says, Throp, JA has experienced a shortage in good and excellent carpenters because many don't want to commit themselves to the discipline and time required to develop their skills properly. I agree. And this goes to the previous point I just made about the electrician and him not having a second or a young person in training. And it's a problem. It's a problem. I was listening to a podcast yesterday talking about the labor shortage that we're having in Jamaica as it relates to construction, and with these big projects that are going on, specific like the Princess Hotel. I know that I've heard this from multiple people that they don't have enough workers. I'm like, what is going on here? What is going on here? And when it comes to skills like carpentry, electrician, these trades that are plumbing, like these things are so important. And the direction that Jamaica is heading in is like we need these skills like crazy, and like what's coming. And imagine a large residential development comes to Negril. All those people that are gonna needed to like do these to do the construction, they're gonna have to come outside of Negril. I mean, I hope, and on some of these projects, they're coming outside of Jamaica. We read the article on the what do you call it? The shipping. Oh man, what is it called? The shipping thing in Kingston. Somebody can tell me about this. But the prime minister was talking about the skills that are needed and how we had to bring in the experts from engineers outside of Jamaica, but he would love to have had it be Jamaicans, but we don't have it. And so I know a lot of people get upset when jobs are being given to foreigners and not Jamaica. But if we don't have the skill, the job needs to get done. The service needs to get done. The product needs to be made. What else are we supposed to do? What else is the government supposed to do? What else is an entrepreneur supposed to do? And so it's a thank you. You made a great point there, Jan. It's a big concern. It's a big concern when we look at the pipeline of skilled individuals. Like, are we making the investment in our young people to think about 10 years, 15, I would even say 5 years from now, and when they're getting a job, and when we look at the labor force and what type of skill, what type of work ethic are we putting out there? What type of values are we instilling in our young people? Is this a labor force that is going to be able to compete globally? And honestly, I'm concerned. It's legit concerned. Legit concerned. So, and this is outside of trade. This is outside of trade. This is like right across the board. It's just like, and I'm saying this from and I'm definitely going to do a stand. This is going to be after DropX. I'm definitely going to do a podcast or live on this. And I'm saying this from the perspective of global competitiveness. And the world is getting smaller in so many ways. And as a country, it's just like can our best and our brightest and even the average compete with the best and the brightest and the average of other countries? And perhaps our best and brightest can. Perhaps. I wouldn't even say perhaps. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But what about the average Jamaican? And I think that is where is the most important, because our best and brightest go on to perform at the highest levels and around the world globally. But to make it, say, out the system, but to get to that level, it's just such a small percentage. And so the question is, how can we increase that percentage of individuals that are performing at high levels? And then when we look at the average person, it's just like, how can and that's the majority of the country, how can we compete and be better than the average of other nations? And like, this is where the investment in education and skill really, really needs to go, because we're competing globally in so many ways. Thank you, King Naldo. The German the German floating dock for ship repairs in Kingston. That's exactly it. Thank you. I could not remember. Jan says, prevailing desire for instantaneous returns instead of apprenticeship and delayed gratification. Damn. Well said. I'm screenshotting that one. That's exactly what that is. And we talked about this, and this is in particular specifically talking about young people and their ambitions and the lack of patience. For sure, social media has so much to do with it. American influence has so much to do with it. But we have to overcome this at some point and in some way. I don't know the strategy. I don't have an answer, but it is of high, high, high concern. And when I think about the future of our labor force, and again, I'm gonna save this for a future live stream and discussion. Perhaps we can even have a labor force expert come on so we can talk about it and really talk from a numbers perspective. I'm speaking anecdotally. We'll be speaking from experience, but it's just something that, and this is not coming from me, as well. It's coming from a lot of people I speak with. Alfonso says a lot of people don't know that cars shipped from Europe is now duty free in Jamaica. You don't have to pay that huge stamp duty anymore. You just pay general consumption tax, which is about 15%. Did not know that. Screenshotting that. Justin, yes, they are lurkers. We're talking about people who are not subscribed to the channel. Don't be a lurker. Subscribe. Channel of Coaching says, do you know of any young 20-year-old entrepreneurs in their 20s or teens that are doing great things in their local community? Possible have them as a guest on your show. Can showcase these young people, or have a heart representative on your show. Just a thought. Do I know any young entrepreneurs in their 20s? In Negril? I do. I mean, do I? I have to think about it. And there should be. There should be. I'm in Negril. The only person I'm thinking of is there is one. Thank you. Good suggestion as usual, Shana. Great suggestion. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. And then you said, or have a heart representative on your show. Just a thought. I think this is good. These are great ideas. Thank you. Man, we're 2.5 hours. We're gonna start wrapping this up. Yeah, super hungry. TNK says the U.S. used to have candy striper volunteers, high school girls, at least learn by exposure. There are things that don't have to cost to start. Good point. These young people don't want to learn no trade. That's slow money. Yeah, it's a mindset shift needs to be made. And this is not unique to Jamaica. I promise you, it's not. Beijing Brit says too many youths wanting to be YouTubers. But I always said YouTube is a viable way to make money. Like, man, but it's the same in many ways. It's the same. Like, you need the same skill sets that you would be that you need to apply to be a carpenter or this or that in order to be a successful YouTuber. You have to have discipline. You have to continuously educate yourself. You have to be committed. It's going to be a successful YouTuber, to make money. It's delayed gratification. And we're talking about, like, to do really well in this industry, it's probably going to take you 5 years to get this. I mean, there's some people who blow up, but some of those people who do blow up very quickly in the early stage, many times it's not sustainable. But you're still going to need to maintain a high level of discipline, a high level of stick-to-itiveness, perseverance, and all these things you learn through being an entrepreneur, and all these things you learn through just being a person who's committed to just wanting to be excellent or world class at something. And that's what it takes, in my mind, to make it at anything and doing anything. All right, last few comments here. 1, 2, 3. Possible to open up any extra rooms at TBR so I can attend ThropX. So I said that, email me directly. I believe we had one room open up. It may not be possible, may not still be true, but last I checked, we had one room available. Shoot me an email, throp@thropmedia.com, and we'll see if we can get you into that room. And keep in mind, even though we're sold out here at Travelers, we have rooms at Negril Treehouse, Shirella Inn, and also Coca La Palm. We also just there are a few more, there are rooms at Skylark. Rock House is sold out. They're another partner that just came on board, so you can check them out. And also Rayon Hotel. So if you can't stay at Travelers because we're sold out, I'll check that for you. 1, 2, 3. But don't allow that not to have you come just because you can't stay at Travelers. We'll figure out your transportation. We'll have a bus that's going to pick you up in the morning and drop you off in the evening. So don't worry about that. It's not far. We're on the same strip. All of these are on the beach road. All these hotels that I just mentioned. So don't even worry about it if you can't stay here. Justin says, great show as usual. Went up. I need to dip. Cowboys Eagles at 4 p.m. Need to do some pre-game preparations. Okay, you go do your thing, Justin. Good luck to your Cowboys. Simone says, training have to start earlier, before high school. Summer camps or after school programs, not dependent on the government. So important. So important. And when, yeah, I think about these things that are just missing in our community, and I think about specifically Negril, and like you think about these kids and what they do after school. Like, there's none of these programs available. Like, they just don't exist. We have NEAT here. This is a Saturday program for a few hours where we have parents and the students come in, and they're here at Travelers in our conference room. But like, that's one day a week. And it's on a weekend. It's great. It's so important. It has a regiment, but it's only a few weeks. We're talking about 8 weeks here. We need something that's right throughout the school year. After school programs. We need sports leagues that are, soccer, track, whatever have you. But we need to keep these kids busy. We need to keep them in a positive environment. And like, great point, Simone. It needs to start earlier. And when we talk about cultivating a high level, high skilled workforce for the future, it starts at these early ages, and it starts with these early programs. Talked about, somebody brought up candy stripers before. Like, we don't have any of that, like none of that, not in any consistent way, not in any big way. Same with summer camps. In order to do like summer camps that we have here, like, you have to pay for them. Sometimes it can be affordable for the average unaffordable for the average Jamaican, but there needs to be more of these. We need to get like thousands and thousands. This is like in Negril, like thousands of kids into these after school programs and in these summer programs that don't exist. And to me, this is, something I am going to focus on in the future. in a big way. Andrew Mack says, where do I get virtual tickets to ThropX? You can go to thropx.com and virtual tickets will be available there. You can take a look. Debbie says, a lot of skilled workers migrated to foreign countries. Yep. We need more. We need, there was an article in the New York Times talking about teachers moving from Jamaica to the States. I was wondering, like, why did that just come out? Like, we were talking about this, I feel like in the spring, summer, and then the New York Times just picked it up. I don't know, just interesting to me. It just came out so late. Or maybe something new happened that I didn't know. I didn't even read the article. I was going to bring it up on this live stream, but I was like, not this one, but at some point. But I was like, I don't know if that's even, is it still relevant? So interesting, to say the least, interesting. Channel of Coaching says, is there a recreational center in Negril like YMCA? Nope. So needed. Like all these things that I feel like in programs that we just took for granted. I remember in junior high we had, oh man, I forget what it's called, but in we had these, I mean, we were like 12, 13 years old and 7th grade. And on Friday nights, they had these, I forget what they were called, but they were like these club nights that we had at our junior high school. And they'd, kids would come in the evenings and they'd play that, that late 90s. It wasn't even called EDM, but that type of music. And I remember I was just like so awkward back then, but I went to like one or two of them. Definitely was not the cool kid by any means or any stretch of the imagination. Fish out of water there. But my point is, it was this activity at night. And when I say night, we're talking about like 6, 7 o'clock. Your parents would drop you off. You'd be there for 2 hours. You'd hang out with other kids. It would be supervised. They had some snacks. They had music. And it was a place that got you. I mean, I grew up in Long Island, did we have much to worry about as far as safety and like, no, not really, to be honest. But nonetheless, it was a regimented thing that we look forward to every week, and that we went to hang out as kids and cultivate relationships. And it was a safe space. And we don't have things like this here for young people, at least in Negril. Darnell says, I appreciate your consistency. Buy my ticket today. See you next week. Awesome, Darnell. Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to meeting you. Simone says, this may be something us throppers can come together and do with volunteers in these industries. I agree. Even with this, this is something that I'm thinking, like, man, I probably may do in like a big way in like maybe 10 years or something like that, or maybe less, but definitely going to write a business plan on it. But it's going to take a lot of money, and I was just thinking, is like, where would this pipeline of money come from? Because it's not going to come from the government, or at least I am not looking to rely on them with the model that I want to build out. And it's like, how could we get this money for, like, say, and it doesn't have to be like anything crazy, but like, how can we get money to do an after school program that it doesn't necessarily have to be in one location, but maybe in several, maybe like 2 or 3 locations, but we're able to serve 500 kids every day, Monday through Friday, throughout the school year, after school program. I mean, that's a lot of money. Like, we'd have to have snacks, we'd have to have juice, we'd have to have supervisors, we have to have a facility, all these things. And we want to do it year after year after year. I mean, like, I would say, like, let's secure 5 years of funding, so to speak. And we don't have to worry about money. We're focusing on the program. We're focusing on curriculum. We're focusing on these young people. And then we could build the program out, and that'll be like after school. And then we move into summer programs. I mean, that to me is, I would say, even more important. I mean, that's when things go down and a lot of kids go awry and they go down this direction instead of that direction. And I remember, I forget what song it was. I think it was Patiently Waiting, 50 Cent. He said, like, I'm not even going to say the lyric. I don't want to bring that into here. But like, summertime is that season. I'll just say that. And if we can get these idle hands of these young people and put them in that direction, where they are in, again, a controlled, safe environment, learning environment. Man, imagine we can do 1,000 kids, and how can we get funding every summer for put kids in a 3-month summer program that is paid for by this institution or whatever have you. So yeah, one can dream. One can dream. This is kind of where my mind goes when I'm bored. Hyderka says Jamaica needs YMCA and charities and more adult education and people who can teach more foreign languages. Agreed. Dr. J says we need our brain power back and a way to have folks like myself raised in the US come to Jamaica and set up programs and enhance existing programs in various industries. Agreed. King Naldo says, come on, Jamaica. Seating municipal status is a must for Negril going forward. Plus, with the advent of the airport coming on stream, let me be careful of my thoughts and my words. Yes. So, like, this has to happen for Negril. Yeah, like, it has to. And again, I said this before. We, as a community, we need to be in control of our own destination in a big way. There's just too much happening and moving in this direction for us not to be. And I don't think we should be trying to set this thing up when it's too late, so to speak. When the train is already moving and planes are taking off and landing on the Negril runway. So, we want to build that foundation early. So yeah, I agree. I agree totally. You're preaching to the choir here. All right, last few comments here. Then I'm gonna run. Durka says dancehall artists and sports celebs should cough up the money and put back into the communities. These kinds of projects like a YMCA, etc. Andrew Max says spit some 50 and your Brooklyn accent drop. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. We got to keep it clean here on this show. Corey MPA says, I didn't want to go there at Andrew Mack, but you're right. Not replacing Jamaican talk. Okay. I'll let you guys have your discussion. All right. I think we're going to wrap up here. This was a fun one. Good thing I didn't show that other video because we would have been here a lot longer. I'm going to say that other video. Maybe we'll do that on Thursday, talking about Airbnb. I got it saved so I won't forget. But this was fun. I'm actually gonna show. We gotta show the trailer one more time. I don't know why I'm playing this music right now. I'll be right back.
Hey.
There's been so much interest in the economic boom that's been happening in Jamaica, both on the investment side and also as a place to move to. Let me tell you about a conference that might help you with this stuff. DropX is a 5-day Jamaica investment conference that takes place from November 13th to November 17th at the beautiful Travelers Beach Resort in Negril, Jamaica. This includes 2 full days of expert panel presentations on all aspects of moving to and investing in Jamaica. This includes the brightest minds in the Jamaican real estate market, certified financial advisors from the most prestigious financial groups in Jamaica, banking professionals from the most esteemed banking institutions in Jamaica, among others. If you are thinking about moving to Jamaica, this conference is the perfect opportunity to have direct access to not only individuals who have achieved your dream of moving to Jamaica, but you'll also be among like-minded conference goers who are also trying to move to Jamaica. In addition, there will be 1 full day dedicated to touring both residential and commercial real estate for sale in the greater Negril area to give you a tangible idea of the real estate landscape in Jamaica. There will be exclusive properties for sale on this tour that you will not find listed anywhere else. If you are even remotely considering moving to or investing in Jamaica, this is the conference for you. This is the best way to dip your toe in the water of figuring out whether Jamaica is the right place for you to invest and to live. For more information, please visit thropx.com and join our mailing list. I look forward to seeing you in November. All right, now it's time to wrap up. So yeah, we got a few more tickets left for ThropX in person. We have a few more. I know a lot of people are coming on the tour. You got to let us know early if you are coming on tour because we are finalizing transportation. We're going to have to lock that off soon. This is the tour on the real estate tour on the 16th, and we have a special presentation on the 15th.
in regards to the tour that I'm very, very excited about and very excited to share. And if you want to come, and that alone, somebody on Instagram had asked a comment about which day that they should come for networking and things of that nature. It's a la carte. You can choose which day you want to come, and if you want to come for the whole thing, great. Would love to have you. Of course, we have the virtual tickets available, and so that will be available up to the day before, so up until Monday. So you can get that. It's the Monday the 13th. You can purchase your virtual tickets, and we're going to send out a link to you. Don't worry, if you attended last year virtually, you got the link before, the day before when it was set up, and you'll have access to that. So if you haven't gotten anything yet, that's been done by design. As Jan says, Throp, I know it's crunch time, so if we don't see you before ThropX, wishing you all the best and Godspeed. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I do plan to stream again this week, all being well. So I do plan to come back on Thursday, and also all being well on Sunday. So, but next Sunday, my running team, they're coming to Jamaica. They're coming to Travelers as a part of their retreat, because today they all ran New York City Marathon. I can't wait to check the stats and see how they all did. And they're coming for the retreat, and so this is kind of one of the things that they're doing to get back to themselves and help with their recovery, coming to relax. So we have a fun weekend ahead with my team, and I get to show them Negril, and I get to show them Jamaica and help them fall in love with Jamaica, right? So I'm excited for that, and I'm excited that they chose Jamaica and they chose Travelers for the retreat. Appreciate you all. Thank you all very much for coming and hanging out. We will see you on Thursday. Not sure if we're going to do a Sunday show. It really depends on my team and where we are. We probably won't do Sunday, to be honest, because I forgot that's our setup day for ThropX. Yeah, that's going to be tough. But I'm committing to Thursday. You'll see me Thursday. All right. Thank you all very much. Thank you for hanging out. This was a lot of fun, and we'll do it again on Thursday. Everybody have a great week ahead. See you soon. Peace. It's supposed to be gone. I don't know what's going on.